G'day and welcome to On The Esky, an Australian sports podcast where we like to wrap up the week that was in sport, drink a few Mark Stubby Taylors and dribble on about the big stories that happen. Today's show, we're talking cricket. We've got Australia beating Sri Lanka in another 2.5-day test and England, New Zealand doing a bit of battle to try and resolve last year's 5-match test series. So the longest test series ever, I think, if you want to think of it like that. Going back to, times when they had to travel around in boats and shit. Yeah, they would have had some long series, I reckon, back in those days. NRL, State of Origin, Game 2, the Blues level it up, one apiece. So we've got a series decider a few weeks away at Suncorp. We'll talk about that. And the week that was in the NRL, all clubs back at it, no buys, big week. In the league, we currently have the Dragons-Raiders game on. It looks fucking miserable in Wollongong, wet and rainy and the rest of it.
Very windy.
Yes. And then round 16 of the Aussie rules is just about done. Massive week in the NBA. Geez, I said we wouldn't be talking too much NBA, and then I did forget that the off-season is massive with all the trades and players signing big deals. So we're discussing all of that. A little bit of NFL, and then a massive final round. We just watched the big UFC 276 card, probably the biggest card so far of 2022. We'll be discussing the big fights there and where each fighter is likely to go next. Plus a little bit of F1 at Silverstone tonight and Wimbledon. It's all happening over there in the UK. Please remember, we have timestamps. If you're watching the podcast, you can skip to the sports that you like. Consider subscribing and check us out on the socials. We like to start off the show by shouting a beer to commend good effort or something good in the sporting arena. Monks, how are you? Who are you shouting a beer this week?
Good, yeah. Well, you mentioned a second ago we had a massive UFC 276 today. So off the back of that, I was just going to quickly touch on and shout Donald Cerrone a beer.
Cowboy.
Yep, he left his gloves in the ring after his fight today, calling it a career. After 55 mixed martial arts fights, 36 wins, 17 losses, 2 no contests. Sad to see him go, but yeah, still a career and sort of a stalwart for that division.
It was time, you'd think, for Cerrone. What we're looking at, 7 losses on the trot to finish off his career.
Yeah, would be stuck as a bit of a gatekeeper. So and with all the new killers in that division, it's across both the divisions he competed in, both welterweight and lightweight. Yeah, it's probably about time. Go and wakeboard for the rest of your life.
Yeah, well, he said he wants to be a movie star, so he's already got that one movie that's come out with Gina Carano, I think.
Can be a bit of a stuntman, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what he said he wants to do. Had the kids out, with their cowboy hats and their crazy names, Riot River and fucking something Danger. Danger is my middle name, etc., etc.
Like that, yeah.
So good on you, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, for a stellar career. He said he hopes to be in the UFC Hall of Fame, which Joe Rogan seemed to think will definitely occur. He did have a 9 fight win streak between 2013 and 2015. So sometimes you can get a little bit recency bias, get too fixated on the end of the career, but definitely in his prime was an absolute killer and assassin, and look forward to watching him on the big screen.
And 9 fights in 2 years is crazy,
isn't it? Yeah, isn't it?
Most active fighter.
Over
that period. Yeah.
Shauno, who are you shouting? This is a great segue. An elite sport.
Yeah. So we of course love to shout beers to Australians. So I picked up the Aussie dart team this week because they won the World Cup.
Beers and darts tend to go hand in hand.
Yes. So we wanted to shout out our lovely Aussie team for their role and their work this week and a half, I think it was, for the World Cup. So
lovely is an interesting adjective.
Lovely one.
Don't
Beautiful
throw that around too often, especially in the world of darts, I'd say.
Some quality dart throwing there from our boys to get the win there.
They look like darts players, don't they?
Yes, definitely. Very much typical Australian dart players.
Yeah, this bloke with a beard. Not sure if Australian dart champion or fucking Rebels bikie leader. Where was this World Cup? You see it?
It's
England?
Hamburg. Hang on, no. They lost to England in 2012 in Hamburg.
So bit of a comeback, bit of revenge to get the World Cup for our lads. So shout a beer to them. And I guess I want to make a quick clarification. It's England versus India. Your notes fucked you on that one. So.
Did I say England versus New Zealand?
Yes, you did.
Damn it. Damn it. Obviously, it's India and England. Well, the rest of what I said makes sense. It is the fifth and final test in the long series, and India had to travel via boat to get there. I'll be... Oh, yeah, did you find out where it was? Or?
No, I didn't. I was just going to say, so the Australian darts team is Damien Herder and Simon Whitlock.
Yeah, household names, aren't they?
Probably don't need to be shouted a beer. They probably have plenty. But
one more,
but one more on us.
One more never hurt.
Peppy, who are you shouting a beer for?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this guy actually drinks beer, but I'm shouting.
Drink this. Drink water.
He doesn't drink Coke.
He definitely doesn't drink Coca-Cola. I'm talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. He has announced that he wants out of Manchester United overnight. He wants to play Champions League football. United obviously finished 6th in the EPL. And it's looking like an absolute clusterfuck in this off season now for Manchester United. We were talking last week about Liverpool going after guys, Chelsea trying to throw some money around. Tottenham have signed well, and currently United have 0 signings and have confirmed released Edison Cavani, Juan Mata, Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard, Nemanja Matic, to name a few. If Ronaldo goes,
so that's half the Stokes work.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, really concerning for United fans, and probably the writing was a little bit on the wall. Given the lackluster performance, especially at the back end of the season. They started off okay, up until about week 10, and then it was just losing games they shouldn't, not being able to, compete against Liverpool and City and the better sides. I don't know what Cristiano. I don't think the one beer from Australia is going to get him to stay on. We're talking about, money-wise, can they just try and throw enough at him to get him to stay? But I don't know if it's about the money for him now. He makes that much from his sponsorship deals, and not playing Champions League hurts his sponsorship.
I think that's probably one of the main things as well. And I guess my question is, if he wants to play Champions League, does he stay in the EPL with one of those other 4? Or do you think he'll go one of the other leagues?
I think he might go back to Spain. Would be probably the thing that makes most sense to me. It's literally, it's only sort of, the news broke today, so that hasn't been a heap of speculation just as to where he might end up. I don't even want to consider a world where Ronaldo's wearing sky blue or Liverpool red. But also those guys have just made big signings of their own in Erling Haaland and Darwin Núñez, respectively. So I don't know if they'll be in the market for Ronaldo, but if they could get him cheap, who knows? But I tend to think that he'll go back to Real. Go back to La Liga. Can't see him joining Barca. Italy, I don't know if
Juventus?
Juventus. If he'd go back there, we're bound to find out, I suppose, in the next few weeks. But it's not good news for United fans by any means. So
any chance of France or Germany?
No, I wouldn't think PSG might. PSG. Imagine Messi and Ronaldo on the same team. Jeez, if they can't win a Champions League with both of them, fuck me. It's legacy stuff for Ronaldo as well. Now it's like he's pretty much a billionaire. So he's 37. He probably just wants to win more titles and really stamp out his legacy. So that's what it's come down to, and finishing 6th in the EPL is definitely not doing it for him.
You can't say that Ronaldo doesn't have an ego, and to cement himself as the GOAT, the greatest soccer player of all time, that means titles, that means championships, individual honours and team honours, like the both of them. And with United losing most of their starters and probably in a rebuild phase, like he's too old to be involved in that and where he is in his career.
Yep.
Go back to chasing titles and chasing big individual medals for himself.
Let's give out a mop of the week. I'm surprised. I don't think this guy's received one yesterday.
He probably deserves plenty.
Just yet. But definitely, a bit of a villain of the Esky and Australian cricket fans in general. I'm talking about the headband donning Stuart Broad, who is now going to be, the legend of Stuart Broad continues. He's going to be more infamous now for going for the most runs ever in one test over. 35.
Don't want to have.
A record you don't want to have. And just in the way that it unfolded, if you know, got bashed by, for 35 runs by Coley in his heyday, or a Smith or a Williamson, or something of the like, But,
well, we had Pant striking incredibly high and getting a ton in this, but no, it wasn't against Pant.
It was Jasprit Bumrah launching Stuart Broad all around the ground, and he just kept bowling short at him, and he just said, "Fuck you." They weren't the prettiest pull shots I've ever seen. I think he did fall over in one. Kitchen sink came to mind. It was very, Sunday social village cricket-esque in some of the shots, but geez, he middled fucking every single one. I've got here. Also, the 5 wides didn't help. He went 4, 5 wides, full toss, no E, 6. So he had to bowl a few more balls. 4, 4, 4, 6. And then a measly 1 run off the last.
Pull the back at the end,
Didn't want to make it too embarrassing for him.
That's so funny. And it leads us into our cricket conversation. So, Monks, if you wouldn't mind just bringing up the scorecard of the 5th test between India and England, just to refresh people's memories. They did have 4 tests in August, September last year. The 5th one got canned at the 9th hour due to the COVID. And the COVID is still...
dirty physios.
It's still around. Yes, those dirty physios getting their hands where they shouldn't. That's a complete... allegedly there. Allegedly, I'm sure that's not how...
we'll leave that for the NFL section.
Nice. A little bit of Deshaun Watson chat for you. Oh, man. So the COVID this was breaking news on the Esky last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Monks with the breaking news that Rohit Sharma has COVID, and they have mandatory 5-day isolation. He wasn't able to train with the team. We were thinking, is he going to be able to get back into this side and lead them for the first time? Or will they have to select a captain? And they did. We thought maybe would they come crying back to their ex-girlfriend in Virat Kohli and say, "Baby, I still love you. I want to just do it one more time, and then we'll call it." And they didn't. They've got a new squeeze, or a new interim squeeze in Jasprit Bumrah.
We thought they might go with
the one night Bumrah stand.
Yeah, we thought they might go with the future potential captain in Pant, but they've stuck with
the future potential captain in Jasprit Bumrah. Maybe they've played their hand moving forward.
Yeah, maybe that's their strategy. They're going to do similar to what we did with Cummins, with the lead bowler being the captain. It was interesting because the night before he did a test, Sharma, and he tested positive. The morning of, they did another test, still was positive, so they couldn't get him ready and out through the mandatory. So yes, he was obviously still out in his system, and they couldn't risk, I guess, the rest of the team. So unfortunately, he misses out in this 5th test. But so far, hasn't mattered too much. They put on a decent score. They maybe wanted him up the top there with to open, but Pant's going to punt, I think, is the best way to explain the Indian innings so far.
It's Pant going to punt. It doesn't matter if they're 4 for fuck all or 4 for 400. He just plays his natural game and goes out there really with India up shit creek at 4 for 70 odd, was it? Yeah. Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
4 for 71,
Yeah, well, they were 3 for 64, sorry, because Pant's batting 5. When he went out there and just hit everything, 146 off 111 balls, striking at 130. Very Bairstow-esque from the last New Zealand test. And dug India out of a lackluster start, a concerning start, into making 416. And Jadoo as well, arguably the world's best all-rounder, went with him and made 104. And the two of them, what did they put on there? 100 quick mass,
almost 200. Yeah, 200.
200 and something.
At least 200.
222. Richie Beno. That's quick mass. 222. Jimmy Anderson, ageless, with his 5 for 60. Jack Leach, he was definitely a very different Jack Leach to the last week in taking 10 for against New Zealand. He only got the 9 overs and got a bit of the punishment. And then England went out, and England's top order sucks, as per usual.
That was always the risk.
As per usual, Lees didn't do much, Crawley didn't do much, Pope didn't do much, and
Root tried his best, got a little bit of a start, but yeah.
Yeah, 31 for Root, but look who's there. Look who's there, boys. Johnny fucking Bairstow and Ben Stokes. So it'd be interesting to see.
Big effort from those two.
Yeah, interesting to see what they're able to do.
So did Lynch go out as the night watchman, I'm assuming, and get out?
Yeah.
Poor bugger.
not having a great game, but here, Jack Leach took 10 for in a test match, so that's already exceeded any expectation I ever had for him. The poor fella after watching him get dismantled in the Ashes in our summertime. Yeah, now interesting. Bazball, the way that England were playing against New Zealand has been termed Bazball, McCullum. Just go out there, see ball, hit ball, play like your fucking white ball team does, and it worked. Are they going to be able to do that at 5 for 84? With Bumrah causing them issues and Shami and Siraj hooping it around.
Well, the two of them did that against New Zealand.
Literally, quite a similar situation. Yes. Quite a similar situation.
But whether against, whether they're playing this in England, I guess you'd think New Zealand would probably play to those conditions better than the Indian squad would. Potentially, but then again, maybe there's a different class we could talk about in the bowling as well.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, the Indians should go out here and hopefully keep them to a reasonable score. I think they probably could keep them under the 200 easily.
Definitely. Well, 5 for 84, geez, could keep them under 150. But it's all going to come down to
those two, yes.
the redhead, love affair between Johnny Bairstow and Ben Stokes. Sam Billings also into this side. I think Ben Folkes had the COVID, which sort of goes back to our Joss Butler chat, and is he good enough to get a recall into this side based on his white ball form?
Yeah, well, we keep talking about it. If he's not the number one glove, which it doesn't seem to be the case.
He definitely isn't.
Yeah, so the question is then, how you pick him as a stick? Would you, considering the way he bats, he probably got to open. You got to start him at the top, let him go quick fire, and then you've got potential recovery. You don't really want him coming in at 5 and 6 to hopefully stable here, because that's not his game plan. But then again, you play him like Pant did maybe. So, but I guess that's where your wicketkeeper's meant to be.
I think if he comes back, maybe as an opener. Like Lees and Crawley haven't cemented their spot. I was talking about how Crawley kind of impressed a little bit towards the end of the Ashes, but he hasn't done anything yet in these series. They see Pope as a long-time player, so I think they're going to continue to invest in him. He did make some runs in the last
and I think match. Joe and Johnny have kind of cemented their spots.
Definitely. Well, that 4-5-6 is locked in Root, Bairstow, Stokes. So it seems to be the top of the order is where Butler could force his way into this team. Now, Owen Morgan retired during the week. We were talking about Aaron Finch, and is the Mickey on him, with his leadership and
I think it's kind of telling he's retired now as well. Like, they haven't done what we're potentially thinking with Finch is like, you've got the World Cup and then retire. Maybe he saw the writing on the wall a little bit with his form, and it's potentially was not going to get picked, or potentially was holding the squad back, and he thought, now's the time for me to retire. So he's made that move.
Fell on his sword, and good on. Like, that's hard to do, to try and put your team, their best interests forward. He got silverware. He's got that 2019 World Cup silverware. I think they won a T20 World Cup under him very early in his captaincy. But he hasn't been the player that he used to be for probably the last 18 months, two years. And Joss Butler gets the nod to captain their white ball side.
You're going to pick a white ball player for England. Like, Joss Butler's been at the top of that conversation for a long time. I guess it's a fair pick there.
It's so funny how things play out as well. Like, we were literally talking about Owen Morgan last week, and I didn't think that this was going to happen. And then I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday that it got announced, and we were talking about, if he does go, can Joss Butler lead him? He hasn't really been, hasn't been a captain of IPL
Stokes going to get the trifecta and get the lot.
And they went with Butler. So, slightly prophetic, I think.
Yes. Back on the test, where do you think they go from here?
In terms of England?
Yeah, how do you think this test match plays out?
Well, they're under intense pressure. What's the weather doing? That's the only thing that could be saving them, Monks. If you wouldn't, have you got any updates there because they did lose some time to rain, drizzle. They've written it as.
Yeah, drizzle. Yeah, that's it. England, Weller. They had the rain predicted for the first 3 days.
Did they have a forecast of any sun? Yeah.
Look at the fucking forecast for the next 5 years. Wet.
That's it. And cloudy for the final 2 days. But as we know, weather forecasts are
they're always
very unreliable.
They're always right. They're always right. You ever tried pouring concrete when they say there's only going to be 1 mil?
Do you think that if...
Well, I suppose if anywhere, if a forecast is going to be right, it's probably going to be England and rain.
If they got a 250 run lead, do you think they force them to follow on? Get this game done, noting the rain.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Yeah, I think that might be the way to go if you want to play for a win. They also don't need to win because they lead the series 2-1. So
India do.
India lead.
We went through this last week.
True. They don't need to win. Yes. So they play out for the draw. Yes.
They could play for the draw, but I don't think they'll want to. I think they'll try to be aggressive and try to win the match. I'd rather see them do that.
Well, England have been the big brothers for a long time. You've got to put them in their place occasionally.
Well, they've been little brothers, I'd say, compared to India recently.
I mean, in size, yes.
I suppose on that as well. Like
Even
England just came off a really good test with New Zealand, and then come straight back into a test against India, and then it's just completely flipped on.
Well, the chat for India was...
It's not flipped yet. It's not flipped yet. It all comes down to this root Bairstow partnership.
Big first innings, yeah.
The chat I said root, Bairstow Stakes.
Bairstow Stakes, yes. The chat for India was they were coming in underdone because they haven't played any test match cricket for a long time.
Nope.
Yeah, so...
people just have to start respecting India's fucking talent. It doesn't matter. The depth, I know we say it so much on this podcast, but it's a scary prospect moving forward. Trying to keep up with the depth and talent coming out of India.
Yeah. Quick point that Rickon made that's quite interesting, that was Kohli does probably take a little bit of the leadership in the field, so which kind of makes sense.
It's very similar to the Cummins.
You can't give him the captaincy, but
the Cummins-Smith kind of... You can't tell me that Steve Smith isn't out there setting fields at times. It's quite reminiscent of that. Very interesting. And Bumrah is 28. I think we've already looked at Sharma. He's 35. Yeah. So... this might be a sign, a little tryout, if you will, for Jasprit Bumrah. Get a couple years out of Sharma and then hand the reins over to him permanently. And then Pant's even younger.
Yeah,
Pant's like 25, I think. So if they want, if they've earmarked him as a future leader, it could be, Sharma to Bumrah to Pant. But this is all speculative. We're starting to look.
A lot can change in
10 years down the fucking track. Who knows? World War III might have broken out.
True.
I hope not.
Australia versus Sri Lanka, not New Zealand.
Australia versus Sri Lanka, a 2.5 day test. We were talking about how good these test matches that have been going down to the wire, the England New Zealand games. And then we get a little bit of a stinker, at least for the neutral. If you like seeing Australia just demolish sides, it was pretty good viewing. Sri Lanka, they just never really looked very comfortable out there. It was Dick Weller with 58 who top scored. Now, actually, before we look at the scorecard, let's look at this Aussie side. Let's look at the Aussie side. Yes. So they went with Khawaja, Warner, Labuschagne, Smith. There was a question mark around heads availability. There was a lot of chat that Glenn Maxwell might get
they rushed him over there.
Get the call up. And I think it was pretty much just pending heads availability.
Yep.
Head was all good. Cam Green in at 6, Alex Carey, and then Stark, Cummins, Lyon, Swepson. So Hazelwood misses out again. What were our thoughts around that?
Well, we talked about it last week. If they wanted to go the two spinners being in Sri Lanka, like we've talked in the past, that it usually ends up being Josh that misses out, unfortunately, because he's just too similar to Cummins, and you can't drop the captain. And they like the variation and the difference that Stark gives over what Josh does in comparison. So, they're... Bit harsh, isn't it? And on form as well.
Well, and how much can he go red ball to white ball as well? Because his white ball form off the IPL and even the games here against Sri Lanka have been unreal.
Yeah.
But is he too similar to Cummins in that, Stark gives you a left arm option, he can bowl that touch quicker. He can bat a bit as well if they're really trying to split, between Josh and Mitch Starc, yeah, mate, I don't know. Maybe that gets thrown into the equation. Yeah, but it is very, very, very stiff, I think. Yep. But it just goes to show it's the Australian cricket team. It's not easy just to get into it and retain your spot.
And I think in the end, the call on 2 spinners was correct.
It was, yep.
And especially when Head's getting 3 wickets and 2.5 overs. The deck was turning from day dot. So
a few landmines in that one. Yes, that's for sure. Sri Lanka batted first, made 212. Dick Weller top scoring with 58. So glad Dick Weller's back in the team. Yeah, just great
Esky staple,
great player. Yeah, Esky staple. And it was Nathan Lyon that did the majority of the damage with the ball. 5 for 90 for Gaz, and Swepson rewarded the selectors with 3 for 55 from his 13 overs. Then we went out and made 321, so had a 110-run lead off the back of 71 from Usman Khawaja, just continues his excellent red ball form. And Cam Green, he loves getting out between sort of 70 and 85, doesn't he, the poor fella? He got out for 77. That was plum LBW, that ball. We were trying to sweep Mendes, and it's got him, on the ankle and was sort of hitting halfway up middle. I think
Did you see Steve Smith run out?
Yeah, that was bad, man. That was bad. That was classic. Yes, no, no, I don't know. Fuck.
Pretty much. I don't think you could probably blame fault at either's feet. I think it was, very much just a confusion of communication, and I think Aussie had better view of it. It was like, there's no way I'm getting through here. I'm sorry, Steve. I've been doing it right. I'm kind of settled. I'm not risking it.
Few smudge on the barbecue fucking memes getting around. Courtesy of poor Uzi.
He was not happy. He was sitting in the dressing room. There was inconsolable.
Big blow up, but they're also mates. I think, after, it didn't change the outcome of the game. I think they came out and said, no love lost. No, that's not correct term. I think love lost means you're not happy with each other.
And you said no.
Yes, so no love lost.
Okay. Fuck it. Cam Green, he has 5 innings now of 74 to 84.
Yep.
Yeah. So back-to-back ones now, and then he had a few in the Ashes and one against India last year. So still chasing that elusive first Test 100. He's averaging 39 with the stick. It's pretty impressive for a 6 that can give you a bowling option as well.
Plus, he's so young.
So young. He's 22 now, I think. Yep. 22, is he?
He'll turn up eventually. He's got such a long time left.
It is coming. It is coming. And he was. There was some chat. Cam Green retain his spot if they wanted to go another spinning option, and pretty much everyone was like, Yep, he's literally been getting prepared and didn't play a whole heap of the white ball.
He didn't bowl much of this at all.
Yeah, I don't think he did bowl.
No, but I think it's also another issue for Josh is they do have Cam Green there as a line and length medium pacer.
Yeah. Even fast medium.
He's fast medium.
Yeah, he pushes the low 140s.
Yep.
He's just turned 23. Yep. Just turned. Happy birthday for last month. Cam Green, that Test 100 is definitely on its way.
So gives them too much options. So that's why they went with the spinners for Paul Hazelwood.
And what about this?
The second innings.
Second innings for Sri Lanka. Yeah. Jeez, it was kind of fun to watch, but it was also kind of this is a bit embarrassing now.
They're throwing it away, essentially.
Yeah, they just didn't have the grit, the concentration to try to force Australia to even if we had to go out and chase 100, 150, that would have been hard on that deck.
Yeah,
four, bit of a different story. I hadn't realised that Sri Lanka never plays more than 3 tests. Well, I was saying to you boys during the week, do you know in their 45-year history that they've never played 4 or 5 test series? They only get these 2 test series or formally 3 test series. So it is hard for them to develop their red ball skills.
True, but then I think the reason is probably because they would rather not go 0-5 regularly.
Yes, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird because obviously white ball's a different story. They just beat us in this white ball tournament. They've won in the 90s they won a World Cup, but Test cricket, and maybe it's a money thing as well.
It's a state of cricket.
It's a state of cricket.
White ball has a bit of a preference, of course, for the casuals and
the smaller nations.
Yes,
for the smaller nations. Test cricket's not dying anytime soon in Australia, England, India.
Not at all.
you can maybe throw Pakistan, South Africa, New Zealand in that second tier.
Yep.
But then teams like Sri Lanka, teams like the West Indies, it's hard to maintain. You test, capabilities,
and probably how it's run over there as well.
There's no money. There's no money.
Exactly.
There's no money in it for them. Yeah. But it was kind of hard viewing. It was a fucking shit day here in Canberra, Australia on Friday. I had a rain day, so I got to watch just about every ball. But there was a lot of people that were keen for the after work cricket viewing on it, and it's gone. Yeah, it was very, very quick demolition. That deck,
at least
deck was falling apart.
Hit a 4 and a 6 to get the final 4.
And
runs.
Travis Head, mate. One of the all-time spells, 4 for 10. I think I was talking to you, I think I sent through his previous test bowling record. These were his first 4 test wickets. He'd bowled something like 228 balls before, so close to 40 overs without a wicket. Yep. So he's saved his average. He's got an average now for one, and it's looking, his career figures are looking a lot better. And all of the wickets in this one were from spinners. So Lyon 4 for 31, Swepson 2 for 34. Well, Stark got starched in his opening 2 overs, and Cummins didn't even bowl.
When was the last time Cummins didn't bowl in an innings?
It'd be a while. It'd be a while.
When he wasn't in the squad, let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
A long time. So it just, spinners were awarded. I think selectors made the right choice there with Swepson.
Yep.
You probably didn't get as many bickies as you'd hope, considering the others, but I guess
he took 5. He took 5 for 80 odd in the test.
Yeah, so it's still a good outing.
Fucking oath, yeah.
And he can blame Head for stealing all these freebies down the bottom end of the end of the list.
What about Travis Head putting his finger on ice afterwards for post-match brevies?
What he bowled?
He bowled 17 balls. 17 balls. That finger
tore it up.
That finger is all cut up, mate. Check that out on the socials if you haven't seen Travis Head putting his finger in the ice he's having some kind of mixed beverage by the looks, and elite recovery.
Yeah. The best moment of this whole test match, though, was Warner getting hit in the nuts.
Man
with the
gets
bail.
hit by a cricket ball. No, by cricket bail.
Yeah, poor Hans Molman in the back there getting hit with the cricket bail. From a clear, I think it was Travis Head with a clean bowl around the legs, took off the David Warner takes off the bail. David Warner is gone for the ball just to pick it up, and it gets copped in the loose bail straight in the clackers. So.
Jeez, we talk about blokes getting hit in the nuts a fair bit on this.
That's fucking funny, bro.
That's funny. Give that man $10,000. It should win the film festival every time. Every fucking time.
Every time.
What are we expecting in the next test? Obviously, you'd think Australia make no changes if everyone's healthy, as long as there's no COVID in the camp.
Well, based on the Sri Lankan's name, they're going to get Dick Weld. So
Dick Weld. Yeah, well Dick.
Yes.
How long have you been sitting on that one, bro?
About 10 seconds. That's why I started it out. So either way, I don't think they're going to do too much in this, unfortunately, for Sri Lanka. I'd expect they keep the squad. They'll stick with the spinners in Sri Lanka, and they'll.
Well, do you rest up Stark and throw Hazelwood in? Just
I'd say it'd be fair. They've won one, and
does he need a rest?
No, probably
doesn't need to rest.
But just rotate it a little bit. They've won up already. They're probably going to win the next 2. Rely on this.
There's only this one.
Or only one more. So
it's 2 test series.
Yeah,
and Sri Lanka, this is like their 12th series in a row where they've only played 2 tests.
Yeah,
that's a bit dire. The status of Test cricket in Sri Lanka. Obviously, we spoke last week about the country going through the ringer as well a little bit. Hyperinflation and the rest of it. Maybe we need to get tourism Sri Lanka. I'll tell you what, that ground looks sick in Gaul. I'd forgotten just how pretty that ground is with the old fort.
It was a bit of a bummer. The stand fell down on, what was it, day 2?
Yeah, day 2. They had that. That's right. They had the late start, and they had a stand. No one was hurt, but it was blowing a gale, and
it's still amazing that they had a late start, and this was a 2.5 day game. So
they lost nearly the whole session. I think. Yep. Yeah, it's not good for Test cricket, to be honest. But let's hope for a more or a less one-sided affair at least in the next game. Maybe a boys' trip to Sri Lanka one day to go check out the scenes and stimulate the
the conversion rate's not great. Well, it's very much in our favour if we went over there.
Definitely. Maybe the next tour. West Indies has to be on the bucket list. Jeez, that'd be fucking fun.
All over the Caribbean.
Oh yeah. I don't think I wouldn't have a cocktail in my hand the whole time.
Do we want to talk about Channel 7?
Yeah, I think you probably followed this story a little bit more closely than I do. There's something going wrong with the TV deal.
Yeah, we covered the following of the deal from when they switched from Win to 7, the whole market, and then 7 throwing all the money, etc. That was pre-COVID. So COVID's happened, and essentially everything they signed up for, Channel 7 hasn't been getting. Well, they've gotten a fair bit, but they haven't thought what they were getting. Plus, they're trying to save money because of COVID, so they're trying to cut costs. And having $450 million on their books for cricket is something that they don't want. So they're trying essentially to break that contract so they don't have to pay Cricket Australia and then pay that amount of money for what they're getting in return. So that's the angle they're taking, that what we've paid for is not what we're getting. Whereas Cricket says, yes, we're meeting our obligations. So, yeah, they've taken that to the Supreme Court for a decision, which would be quite interesting because at the moment, Channel 7's begrudgingly putting on cricket, and I wonder what the summer of cricket's going to be like leading up. They're trying to essentially bin it, maybe try to renegotiate another deal, or Channel 9 might roll back in and say, here, you can have the tennis back. We'll greatly take the cricket, or maybe try to steal the both of them. And it'd be interesting to see who's got money left. Is probably the other question. A lot of the networks, I know Channel 10's been struggling. A lot of them had to do a lot of cutbacks on programs they were making in this country. So yeah, it'd be interesting what happens.
Have to have free to air cricket. Have to.
Yeah,
it's
summer cricket.
Yeah, look at what
don't put it on stand. Don't become rugby.
It's so important.
Did anyone watch the Test match this week?
We're talking about it before.
No.
Yeah, we're talking about it before.
And I'm pretty sure that was on free to air, but no one knows about it. So. Oh no, it was only on stand, wasn't it?
No, all Test matches are free to air.
Internationals are free to air.
I thought it was, but yeah, they were still promoting Stan on all their ads. So
But despite the fact that we're not big rugby fans, the only thing that I saw about the Test match in rugby was social media. I didn't see any. I also don't watch. I don't watch a heap of free to air TV.
Yeah. Same. And these days as well. Yeah.
It's hard. Australia did win that game with 14 men for 60 minutes. So well done there. It's so important that this gets sorted out. I don't know what the court's going to rule. Well, obviously, no legal experts here. We can barely string sentences together.
Yes. Was 7 showing the Shield cricket?
No.
So that was only on...
It's only on Fox KO.
Fox KO, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the 8 people in the stands watching it live. I really hope that they get on top of this, because it would be a tragedy to cricket and to kids or to people that don't, they've only got their free to air. It would be a tragedy for free to air cricket to get binned. So hopefully it all gets sorted out.
Yeah, I could see them going back to Win and see how that goes.
Channel 9 coming back.
But they, of course, let them go because they couldn't pay the money. But it'd be interesting to see whether that deal actually goes backwards, which would be disappointing for the players, etc. Which would potentially then cause issues for the Test team. Long term, that's how you get into the problems that West Indies and Sri Lanka and they have. Is there's more money in the white ball and international playing T20 tournaments?
Yeah, and that's probably an overstretch.
It is,
of course, but slippery slopes.
Yeah,
slippery slopes.
You start down that slope and then it gathers momentum. You can't stop. So.
And I don't think we talked about it, but when the IPL TV deal came out, I think it's like $9,000 a ball.
Yeah,
it's like it's billions of dollars. It's wow. I think it's the second biggest TV deal in the world after EPL.
Yep.
Which is fucking nuts.
That's crazy.
So that's obviously it's like flogging a dead horse, but it seems to be the trend for the way that cricket's going.
Yeah,
I'm like I said before, I'm not afraid of red ball cricket here because we've got so much strength and investment in the red ball game, and I'm not worried about it for England. I'm not worried about it for India, but it's the smaller nations.
That's also the problem. Eventually, does it become just a 3-horse race, and then they're just playing themselves, and it gets to the point where they're just like, "Oh, this is boring."
Yeah.
It's like it's not the, with World Cups happening for the other ones, and they've all got tournaments that kind of follows it. They've got a system. You got more stars, more players. Yeah, and then you got like a 3-team league, international league, and then people are just like, "Yeah, I'm just not enjoying this."
Rugby league.
Yeah,
rugby league, like Australia, England, New Zealand are your big 3.
Yep.
In rugby league. Luckily, we've sort of seen the emergence of some of the Pacific
Island nations,
but essentially rugby league's a 3-horse race in internationals. Luckily, we've got the subcontinent and India and all the people and money and interest that comes with that. But yeah, it's a little concerning, I think, moving forward. But in the near future, I'm not too worried. It does make you question though, how much can change in a whole generation. What's it going to look like in 30 years' time?
We've seen basically in our generation seen whiteboard. The one-day international format, come to prevalence and then become second fiddle essentially in T20s. So it's being a different sport. It has gone up and then come down.
The thing that one day still have is the World Cup is still the pinnacle. But these when we play 5 matches against Sri Lanka and it's just a 2-team series, who gives a fuck? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you think in 3 years' time I'm going to be talking about? Remember that Sri Lanka series where we lost 3-2? Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka, there's a few yellow shirts in the 5th test in the 5th game to say thanks for coming. No, you need like no one will remember that.
But the same thing. Like there's a direct competitor of a World Cup and T20 World Cup. So they're it's and that's where all the leagues are going. There's no one-day leagues happening. So you've seen the rise of T20 basically taking it over. You talk viewership, it's well and truly about heads above the rest of it.
And that's what the Big Bash is doing by implementing this player draft. And we saw a few of the South Africans have put their hand up. Faf du Plessis will be putting his name. I'm sure. Well, he'll be playing. Someone will pay $350,000 for Faf, surely. But there's even the Big Bash is starting to struggle to try to compete, with the money that we're seeing, in the IPL and the Pakistani Cricket League. The Emirates have got a bunch of money.
Isn't the Caribbean League huge as well?
Caribbean, yes. In terms of money, it's not in the top 5, I don't think. But it's for the Caribbean players, the West Indian players. It's a big opportunity for them to showcase their skills and obviously the tournaments in England and South Africa are quite big as well. So,
and you see like Chris Gale, he'll just go from tournament to tournament. A
lot of them.
I'm using him as a classic example.
Can't blame him.
Yeah, not at all. I'm getting paid a meal to play in a tournament for 6 weeks and 6 to 10 weeks, and and I just rotate through them all year.
It's fucking oath. And the West Indies pay me $500 a test and a bottle of rum. Well, fuck me. Like, you can't blame blokes. You can't blame blokes. A lot of them come from poverty as well. They've got to try and look after their family and make the right decision financially. So, you can't blame them. Where's the loyalty? The old boomers. Well, these guys are just chasing money. Where's the loyalty? Where's the loyalty? Right.
You got 10 years, maybe.
I'll give you $1 million for 10 weeks' work. Where's your loyalty?
That's it.
He's like, bro, I'll suck a dick for that.
And if that's your thing, nothing wrong with it.
Jeez. I was going to mention, you mentioned the Caribbean League. Did you see that they've got that new 60 format?
Yeah.
Oh, are they going that?
They're doing
that. That's gross. That's gross. So
England are trying the 100 as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think this one's more like a little tourney before the main competition.
Oh, okay.
So it's like
I don't think the CPL hasn't gone to it.
No,
it's a warm up.
Don't believe so. It's a warm up comp or like a comp tucked on afterwards, something like that. So
that's so gross.
Yeah.
For some pre-match entertainment, maybe.
That's it. Well, I mean, again, like it's just going towards like the format of the sports just keeps on kind of evolving.
Yeah, they want to go shorter.
Devolving, dude.
Or devolving.
You ever seen the classic of the monkey and he goes to man and then you see him start devolving and getting on the laptop and getting skinnier and more frail and shit. Yeah, it seems to be the way we're going.
Reckon in a few years they'll have a format where you do the toss and leave. So true. I was going to say that, like, no one's talking about 10-day tests where it's all smaller. It's not longer.
Of course.
The attention span.
Yeah.
Do you know back in the day they used to test matches would go until they're finished.
Yep.
There was no 5-day limit to test matches.
All out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm talking like pre-Bradman kind of shit.
Yeah. Early days.
Yeah.
And then it was like, we've played this game for 100 days.
I don't think it got to that.
This bloke's on 10,000 runs. Let's just call it here. It's a draw, fair. You can't get him out.
That is pure speculation. I don't think anyone ever made 10,000 runs.
Check the record book. Check the record book. James, come on.
100-day test match.
That's it.
You know what the tragic thing is as well? In those days, I would go to fucking every single game.
I was going to say, imagine watching like loose fast change for like 10 days straight.
Just batting non-stop.
Yeah.
Sounds
a good way.
Potential, but yes.
Sounds like a recipe for divorce, actually.
Cricket's still going, love. I still got to go.
Can you turn that shit off? It started in November. Good times.
Yeah.
And that will do us, I think, for cricket for today.
Yes. Let's get into some Australian footballs.
Rugby league.
Do you want to kick off the Dragons just there?
Yeah, so
halftime?
halftime in the wet and windy
Wollongong.
Wollongong, WWW.
Win Stadium?
Win Stadium. 4 Ws. Anyone else? 12-4, the Dragons lead at halftime. My punters club needs the Raiders to win for a little win, and it's the opposite team from my team, and I'm a Dragons fan, and I say, fuck the money. Sorry, boys, but obviously wear my heart on my sleeve, and big Dragons fan. Who busted over, Monks? I haven't been paying a heap of attention.
Amoni and
Sully,
yeah.
Raiders?
And for the Ravens.
Your boy, Savage.
Yeah, your boy.
Savage, yeah.
Yep.
12-4. I saw him knock on earlier there, so things been wet, a little bit
Looks
of
disgusting.
disgusting, a bit of turnovers. Yeah, it doesn't look like a grindy kind of football game so far.
We will watch that one unfold before our eyes here.
Good thing for the Raiders, not in front.
Yeah, the dude pointing to his temple meme.
Can't have a fade if you're not in front.
Should make that one.
They're like one of the worst teams for second half points in the season so far. So, hopefully they can get some points in this one and tie it up and make it competitive towards the end.
Definitely. Monks, can you bring up Origin Game 2 try scorers, etc., etc.? Sean, you were talking about bringing a broom here last week.
If the sweep was on, but
we should have given you the mop.
Or the broom of the week.
The broom of the week.
Yeah. What a different game, hey? Yeah. So different to game one.
I think Philanders has made the right decision. That Queensland should never play in Perth again. Their record, I think, is 70-something and to 18. So,
yeah. Only 2 games.
Yeah, 2 games, of course, but, starting to build a trend there.
What about them nearly selling it out? Well, it was sold out.
It was sold out by the end of the match, yes.
Exactly. 59,000.
By match start, sorry.
358 in there for the 60,000 seat stadium there at Optus.
Yeah, I think it was beautiful to have them filled out. The stadium looked excellent. I do have a gripe with the ground. I don't think it was up to par. I think it probably because the Dockers played on it the night before. So
you could see all the blacked out 50-metre lines.
And I feel like they probably cut it maybe too short. I think it needed probably an extra inch or 2 of grass on the top there for some lawn chat because it wasn't very slippery and was getting torn out throughout the match. But that wasn't the reason for the Maroons getting dicked in this.
It was only in the second half.
Yeah, I think missing the 60 tackles and having to make over 100 more tackles was probably the detriment to the Maroons in this one. I think they have 5 knock-ons and 2 strips within their own half. I think most of that within the 30 in that second half. So errors was probably the reasoning for them getting absolutely hammered in this one. So lot for them to improve on, and they can potentially improve on going home. But credit to New South Wales for once they had on the throat after the Konfusi send-off.
Down,
they just buried them under, and we've seen that in the regular NRL. Once you get the ascendancy, it's very hard to get it back.
Indeed.
And if you turn the ball over a fuckload, it makes it even harder. So,
indeed.
A lot of improvement to be done there.
Did you have any gripes with the refereeing? I saw a lot of one-eyed Queensland fans blowing up. I'm like, bro, you can cry at the refs if you lose by a try, but get done by 32 points.
It was the same. I don't think you should be relying on the refs, and potentially this match was over-refed a little bit. I don't think a sin bin for ruck infringements on the goal line in an Origin game is kind of fair. And
it's a professional foul though.
But also, Harry Grant was the one holding him down, not Konfusi. Maybe pick the dude that caused the issue.
Should have seen bin both of them.
That's more of a bunker thing than a.
But it was also it was different infringements as well. It was hands or holding, and you're defending a goal line in Origin. I would have let it play out more than going to the sin bin.
Yeah.
Knowing how prevalent a sin bin is to a team winning in a regular game.
Yeah, we've been over the stats in that. It's
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like 9 and 10 or something.
Yeah. So it's As a Queensland fan, you're like, yeah, we're probably fucked here. So and
the momentum shift.
They scored once in that period, and then they held on.
Yeah, To'o scored, but then the Tupou try was when like Kafusi had been back on the field for like 30 seconds, but you could feel all that momentum changing.
Well, that 8 minutes in the second half, they just tackled the entire time, and they were rooted by the end of it.
Exactly right.
I still don't know why Tino and Papali played 10 and 5 minutes in the second half. So it's obviously a strategy that Billy was doing, but
the same in the game one. Papali had barely played in the second half.
And if that was the thinking, because they went big to start with, took Tino off, put Carrigan on. If that was the plan, and he was going to play the full game, I would have thought play Carrigan the whole 13, and then you can use Tino as a big forward, rotating with Lindsay more.
And that's when they got rickrolled as well, was when their pack lost a bit of size. And we were talking about it last week. Had New South Wales gone in too small, or maybe they
Jake Turbo had an excellent game. Played all 80, just tackled a house down.
He's so good. Yeah. He's so good.
I think he was excellent.
The thing about Jakey T is he's not flashy, I think, and that's maybe why he got overlooked. I don't know.
But you need the hard workers, which is what they probably missed in game.
That's all he's just 108 kilos of just grunt.
Plus on a slippery, dewy track like this was, and where making tackles was very important. New South Wales missed barely any. So big credit to Jake T in that one. I think the other big difference was Matt Burton's kicking game. Like they needed a second option at kicker, and having a 5'8" plan in the
Pepe's little tidbits from last week. They had someone to take the pressure off Nathan Cleary. Was that one of the best Origin debuts ever? I'd have to go through. You'd have to go through. I've only kind of just thought of it, but definitely in recent memory, I can't remember someone debut and have that big an impact in their first game.
Yeah, I agree. And it does had a very interesting potential problem. With Latrell essentially ruling himself out, probably clears that problem.
Yeah.
But you have to put Whiten back in the team after the way he played in game one.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to keep Burton in there. So
I think poor Stephen Crichton, I think he's going to miss out.
Yeah.
Cookie was good. He played a fair few minutes off the bench there. I think he'd be stiff to miss out on the 14.
Yeah. Well, he played. Yeah.
Played
like Appy plays 50, 30, and then he played the 50.
Yeah.
I think that was the plan for them. I'm not so sure about having the extra centre on the bench to then play.
Talakai barely
play in the second row. Like that seemed a bit odd, but in the end, it didn't matter because they were 30 points in front.
And we were questioning that last week. The Talakai selection, probably the biggest head scratcher of them all. But he does give you that versatility. If one of their middle forwards went down, you could chuck CSC for Talakai in there to nut truck it up the middle for a little bit. I think he'd be just fine. The fact that he plays centre is fucking crazy. Yeah. So I think that was kind of the thinking there. We were questioning Freddie's, big selections and swinging of the axe and non-selections last week, but they've all paid off dividends.
Yeah, I think the Queensland's, though how good New South Wales were, Queensland were worse. So I think they were bad. Yeah,
they
played really bad.
Yeah, they really killed themselves. And in that game one, they were They didn't make any errors. They were clinical on the goal line. They took every opportunity. Yeah. There's an argument to be made that New South Wales were better in game one than Queensland. Queensland just didn't make mistakes and finish their chances.
Yep. Yeah, 100% agree. And
which was completely different in this game.
Yeah, and they really didn't get many opportunities. They had 2 tackles inside New South Wales 20 in the second half, and Harry Grant knocked it on. So
yeah, right.
That was the story for them. They just were buried in their own half the entire second half.
Was it hard watching for you?
Well, it was just like, you got to go through these to then get to the good times. Yeah. I remember losing 3 series in a row, and I was like, it's going to come, and we won 8 and then the following one. So I'm not too worried.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Well, I can't believe I just felt sympathy for you. Gross fucking feeling. Get rid of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to gloat a little bit on Sunday night. I thought, geez, he's probably a bit upset. Maybe I'll just leave it.
That's when you really got to twist the screw.
Foot on the throat. Yeah. Foot on the throat.
Yeah, but
don't let him back up.
But then you talk a big game, and then if Queensland go and wins in Brisbane, then I'm just like, bro.
That's
exactly
right.
That's the nervous
exactly
thing
right.
about it.
And what had we looked at once coming back from 1-0? The New South Wales only ever been able to do it 4 times from 20.
Yes. So, and the last time they did it was when they played game 2 in Perth. So
Omen.
Yeah, could be.
New South Wales 13 plus.
So yes, it'll be interesting going into game 2 what happens. I just wanted to finish on the
game
Burton.
3.
Game 3, sorry. After game 2, I just want to finish on Burton because we had talked about if they wanted to keep more centres, then potentially him being a 6, do you play him a 6 and then Lua misses out? But I think they want to keep that connection. And now with Latrell ruling himself out, and I don't think Pap's going to get a Guernsey, Pappenhausen. So I'd say it's going to be Whiten and Crichton in the centres, and Whiten and Burton in the centres,
with
and
Crichton to miss out.
Yeah, Crichton to miss out. Yes.
I do agree. We shall discuss that next week. I think Sunday night next week will be the teams. So,
well, what do you think, to follow on from the finish of Origin, what did you think about them, V'landers, I have a comment about V'landers, binning international week and going back to Wednesday night for Origin?
Yeah, they don't like Sunday night Origin for whatever reason. I was looking last week at the ratings. It's been steadily dropping a little bit for the last sort of 4 or 5 years, although they've only had...
Well, they struggle to sell tickets as well in New South Wales and Perth. Luckily for Queensland, they've sold out, a week ago. So
Queensland
being a decider, like they know they've got to turn out. So that's good. But I think
interesting, because there's not much difference between the Sunday night and the Wednesday night. Like, they're both school nights.
Yeah, and honestly, for me, like well, I guess they're thinking they're going to play club footy on the weekend, but why not just still play Origin on the Wednesday night, and everyone else that's not in Origin play the internationals? You got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just
it's
play
a
them over
backward
there.
step for the international
exactly.
side of things.
And we saw how good some of those international games were. So
and
they have to.
We're just talking about the big three in rugby league in Australia, England, and New Zealand. If you want anyone to
grow the game,
to actually compete with them, we've seen Tonga get lifted to be a tier 1 nation, but it's kind of like they're like tier 1.5. Do you know what I mean? They can play New Zealand and not get embarrassed.
Yeah.
But going into a rugby league World Cup, are Tonga or Samoa going to win the World Cup? You probably not.
Yeah. Well, you also think
they're going to go close. Probably not.
No, but if you want to beat them competitive, you got to play more games there.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's the talk about, like, why are you going to play in rugby league games in America, trying to get into that audience? Go play games in the Pacific. Like, there's...
Well, that's money.
Well,
it's catch money.
Yeah,
that's money. That's the reason for it.
I think the population of Tonga is like 120,000 people. Like, it's literally like the MCG.
But the league's, 50-60% from that area.
Course, But hosting games over there is a different kettle of fish. Same thing going back to our PNG chat. Would PNG ever get a team in the NRL? Probably not.
They'd turn out though.
Well, they've got a lot more people.
They've got a lot more people,
which helps. But unfortunately, I think the way that the game has changed, in the last 30 years to be, Anglo-Saxon predominant game to half Pacific Islander, that all comes off the basis of people leaving the islands and coming to New Zealand and Australia. That's just the crux of it. And of course you want Tonga and Samoa and Fiji to continue to gain momentum and get stronger, but hosting games out there, it's probably just not financially viable for them, and that's probably just the sad fact of it. That's an interesting little list up there, Monks. I want to go through a few of these. The top 50 performances from a State of Origin rookie. We won't go through all 50, but let's have a look at the top there. Brett Hodgson, 2002.
Yes.
Gary Belcher, 1986. I can't imagine any of us remember that one. Anthony Minicello, Les Davidson, Ian French. So the Hodgson game, far and away the greatest performance ever. 374 run meters, 14 tackle busts. 14 tackle busts. The bloke weighed about 78 kilos. Jesus Christ. 6 line breaks, try, assist. There you go. Well, I don't think Matt Burton quite had a game like that.
Not quite like that.
Not quite had a game like that. Who else we got? More recent memory.
Well, Gary Belcher's one there. Like, that's still 300 plus run meters, 17 tackle bursts.
Back from 1986. We might have to ask the old boys about Gary Belcher.
Oh, he was good.
Back in 1986. The more recent ones there, Brian To'o, 2021. Cam Munster in 2017. Willie Tonga. That's still back in 04. Yeah. Interesting. I want to go through that list more thoroughly.
Munster. Number 10, Munster.
Yeah, Munster was there. You don't go scroll down.
Oh, isn't? Yeah.
2017. Munster had 12 metres a run, 2 offloads, 5 tackle busts, a line break assist, and a try assist. Didn't get a meaty. Yeah. That's crazy. You think about how good Cam Munster is now, and he's done it all. But that's his first Origin game back there in game 3 of 2017. And that was another thing that we talked about as well. It was negating Cam Munster. I don't know what they did in terms of their training and preparing for him, but he didn't look like he could cut New South Wales open at will.
They didn't have any ball, I think, was a bigger issue.
Yeah, big time.
It's a bit hard to get Cam Munster go when you're in your own.
When you've got to defend the whole time.
Yeah.
Cam Munster, good segue. Manly Melbourne. Let's talk about this week's games. So back to a full week after International Week. Thursday night, Manly upset Melbourne up there at Four Pines Park. Now, Manly need to learn how to play 80 minutes because they were home and hose. And then the Storm scored 4 tries in the last 5 minutes. Luckily, Manly had quite a convincing lead. Doubles to Jason Saab and Tolatu Kula, or Kola, depending on who you listen to. Are these two the fastest men in league that aren't Josh Addo-Carr? I was wondering if the NRL would ever consider doing a race like they do in the AFL. It'd be sick.
They did it. They did it with Hayne and Inglis.
But it was
that'd be 5 years ago now.
But it was just those two, wasn't it?
No, there was like 6 or 7.
Oh, was there? Okay.
So they have done a 100-meter one in the past, usually on grand final day before, as part of like in between the grand final matches being played.
But they haven't done it for a few years.
I can't think of one recently
that I can remember.
Addo-Carr actually might have been in one recently.
Yeah,
I have a vague feeling. But yeah, it's not built up as much as it probably could be. And yes, I think these two would be at the top currently.
Munster's found an article that said
from May last year,
we need to race. Saab wants to take on Fox and the other top flyers in the 100-meter dash. It'd be sick. I'd definitely tune in.
Yep.
If you could punt on it. Woo!
It's one thing we miss in the NRL is we don't get 40 times. So I'd love some 40 times.
Yeah. You get 100-meter times.
I think it was on comment around Magic Round. I suppose of all the teams
that'd be
in one
sick.
spot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Magic Round.
I suppose the only issue that the clubs might have is someone pulling a hammy.
Yeah, you'd want to do it after.
Do it on the last day. Like
after everyone's probably more dangerous.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose
that's why grand final
makes more sense.
Yeah. For the guys that aren't
exactly.
playing.
You just have everyone that's not involved in the game. Yes. But yeah, they should do it. Peter V'landys,
they should
get in my fucking DMs, bro.
Be the first.
Be the first. My wife doesn't even DM me. She actually just sends me funny reels. It's pretty good back and forth.
Where are you? At the pub. When the fuck you coming home?
No, you'd be surprised, Sean. That's not on Instagram. They tend to be phone calls. Shout out to the wife.
What was next? Knights taking on the Titans. The Knights getting a big wing.
Edric fucking Lee, bro. Edric Lee.
On his way to the Finns.
Monks, you need to pull this up. The record is 6, I believe, in NRL era game.
Yes.
I think before then someone might have got 8, and I think NRL era it's
NRL
6, and I think there's multiple guys that have got 6. But it would be pretty elite company, I imagine, that Edric Lee now finds himself in getting 5 or more. The Knights fans, they always turn up. Yeah. You can't.
And a week after the coach put them on blast as well. I think he's put them on blast the last 2 weeks, and they finally turned up for a game.
They've been horrendous.
But the Titans are probably close to the worst team in the league at the moment.
Well, they are. That's what the ladder tells us, and that's what being 22-0 down to the Knights tells us. Imagine if they're fucking playing Penrith on a Friday night.
So we've been talking about the Titans coach. I don't think he's long for his job.
Yeah. So we were talking pre-show. So we've had the sackings / stepping downs of Brown, Barrett, and Maguire. 5 is the record.
Yep. We thought these two would be.
The coaches of these two in Justin Holbrook and Adam O'Brien might be on the line. That would get 5. 5 coach sackings in a season.
From what I've heard, Holbrook is probably within the week or maybe fortnight. He's not long for the job because I think they're trying to chase Payne Haas. I think there's kind of some rumours that Fafita has to go for Payne Haas to come in. So that'll be interesting.
Fafita's still got a fair bit left in his contract, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's getting paid loads to do not a whole lot.
He gets 1.2, which is wild for a second rower. It is wild. He's an excellent player. Is he 1.2?
Yeah, on his day when he's turned on, yes.
Exactly, yeah.
But he's been cold more than he has been hot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Big Tino's really the only one carrying that team at the moment, but they're struggling. So, yeah.
The Gold Coast, bro, where franchises go to die.
Yes.
It's a shame because on paper that team you wouldn't think is the worst in the league.
Well, I think they need to do what the Cowboys and Brisbane have kind of done, which is go after known Origin stars, bring them in to try and build that culture. To then, guys that have played big match footy, grand finals, etc., get them in so they can build that culture they need because they really don't have anything like that besides Big Tino. That's it. he's still like a young Origin star as well.
Yeah, he's not that old. He's not that old by any means.
Yeah.
I think he got overshadowed by Edric Lee's 5. I didn't realise Dom Young got a hat trick in this one as well. So 8 tries to the wingers. It's a bit easy, isn't it?
And I think Clem ended up in the bin as well. He was standing up for one of his guys and maybe got a bit rough with it. And I think he said some things to the ref, and the ref sent him off. So
Really?
On his walk out, he gave I think it was his winger. He gave his one. Maybe it was Young. Gave him a bit of a cuddle and said, "Yeah, I did that one for you, bro. It's all good. Got your back."
Always good as a winger when your big
man gets
when your big props got your back. Monk's NRL era, the record is 6, is it not? Frank Burge did get 8.
He did get 8.
Back in, what's that, 1922 or something?
19 diggity.
Yeah.
19 diggity do. NRL eras.
Josh Adokar with 6.
Adokar got 6.
Yeah, he did
Is
that.
that the
last
only
year.
one? Yeah.
Or the year before?
last year.
Yeah, he did that last year. That was when he was
Only
chasing
one.
the top.
50, 47, 36.
Yeah, so everything else is New South Wales rugby league. Multiple guys getting 6 and Rod Lone with 7 back in 1935. Yeah, so Edric Lee, who's their NRL era with 5. There's a fuckload that have got 5 actually.
Yeah.
Alex Johnson has done it a few times. Jamie Lyon, Nigel Vangana, throw it back to him.
Yeah.
Andrew Eddinghausen, ET. That's
That would be it.
that's about the names that I'm familiar with there. And then there's a bunch of guys that did it back in the New South Wales Rugby League.
Yep.
So there you go, Edric Lee, history books.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want to put the footy back on? Next match being Penrith and Roosters, but I guess the big talking point is the Roosters trying to save their season a little bit, and they've gone out and recruited Matt Lodge for the rest of the year for 100K.
This is such a Roosters sombrero signing, isn't it? The bloke doesn't want to play for $500,000 for the Warriors. Or he was on 600, I think, wasn't he?
Well, they're still paying his contract. They're paying him out, so you've got to remember that. Yeah.
True. See, that's
It's the hush money, so he's getting hush money and then getting 100K on top of it.
that stinks, doesn't it? To walk out on a club and then go and play for the Roosters, who will have top 8 aspirations and the rest of it.
Most likely playing finals, yes.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. Although the Roosters pushed Penrith on Friday night. Obviously, Panthers coming away with the win, 26-18. But, mate, if you need to give me any more reason to dislike the Sydney Roosters anymore, this is right up there. Right up there.
To me, it smells a bit of desperation a little bit for them. They're trying to stay touch, and they've obviously wanted an extra big in their squad. Kiri's got a bit of concussion concerns as well. He's going to be out for a little while. I think he's had 3 concussions this year, and have been having very recurring headaches or something in recent weeks. Not in a good spot.
Rest up, bro.
But for Penrith keep chucking along. They keep doing what they're doing, and there's not much else to write home about in that one.
With the Melbourne loss, they'll go 4 points cleared. 6 points clear, sorry, now. So you can start thinking about minor premiership, I'd reckon.
Yes. Sharks took on the Bulldogs and got a win there. Sharkies only getting 18 points to
6.
Bulldogs 6.
Nico Hines show again. He had 121 run meters, was elite with the kicking game, had a try assist, 27 tackles. Definitely a contender in the Dally M race. The Bulldogs, weren't embarrassed by any means after finally getting that win, but they're looking like Trent Barrett Bulldogs after being able to score points the last month. They've
run back into the good sides. They've got through the soft bit of their schedule, and
Well, they got rid of their coach, had a couple good games, and then just back to normal, right?
Yes, yeah. So Sharks keep trucking along as well. Where are they? Are they 6th, like where we think they're
5th, I think.
They've jumped Brisbane with
so Brisbane lose, so they do jump them, and they're outright 4th, so on 22 points there.
That's good for them. Yeah, considering we thought they'd probably be in that 6th range. I think they're doing well currently.
The Raiders have just busted over.
Yep. Speaking of Brisbane, they did lose to the Cowboys. Cowboys put them to the sword a little bit, 40-26. Murray got a double. Corey Oates went past Wendell Sailor as the 4th all-time most tries scored for Brisbane.
Yep. 112, I think he's on. 111, something like that.
Solid for a second row playing on the wing. But I think the big news was Cobbo resigning and decides to stay at Brisbane through to 2025 because a lot of people chasing him.
Yeah, we were saying there's pretty much 15 clubs that were after his signature, so that's massive for Brisbane fans. They'll be very happy to keep probably the most talented young winger in the
big
game.
Up and comer. Had a shocking game in Queensland game too.
He did have a bit of a stinker, but he was very good in his Origin debut. So he's also 19 or 20 or something. So
to get him through the early parts of his career, he's probably looking at another big deal to stay at Brisbane post that because he'd be 23 by the end of that. So he's got a big career ahead of him. Well, Hansen Young's top try scorer for the Raiders.
He's equal with Sebastian Chris and Matt Tomoko. I think he's got 2 game-winning tries as well for the Raiders. This will go over from Fogarty. It should be 12-10 with 25 minutes to go. It looks disgusting in Wollongong.
Yes.
The Cowboys, they're legit premiership contenders. The chat's kind of been from the start of the year where we were like, they're not going to make the 8. They don't have the cattle. Don't go back and look at our rugby league preview video. I think most of us had them about 14. Are they a legit top 8 team are they a legit top 4 team these guys, obviously Penrith,
legit.
Obviously, Penrith and Melbourne are probably just that step ahead, but if there's, they're the rightful third best team in the comp at the moment.
Yeah, the start of the year, Adam Reynolds was the buy of the year. I think Chad Townsend's probably taken that over. He's been so good for them there.
He's been great. Drinkwater's unreal week in, week out. Murray Talangi made his debut for Queensland and will play a fair bit for Queensland, you'd imagine.
Yeah, their packs stood up and...
Tamalolo's been resurgent.
Yeah. And Tom Deanan's played well at 6 as a running 6.
Yeah,
so. And
that was everyone's concern. We always talk about spines in rugby league, and at the start of the year, we looked at 1-6-7 in Drinky,
super improvement,
Dearden and Townsend, and they've absolutely just strung it together.
Yeah, they've actually got a pretty good end of the season as well. So they've got a bye this week, next week, and then they've got Sharks, which will be a good test.
Yep.
Then they got Tigers, Dragons.
They get smacked up by the Dragons.
Bulldogs, Roosters, Warriors. Then they hit the Rabbitohs and Penrith.
That's called the final round. Cowboys, Panthers up there. So that will be a real litmus test going into the finals as to who these guys actually are. But outside of that, there's the Rabbitohs are in the top 8 and the Dragons currently are 9th, pending the result of this. So they literally only play 2 top 8 teams on their run home. So you'd imagine third or maybe even second could be on the cards for the Cowboys. Yeah, depending on how the Storm go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rabbits, they got a win against the Eels in the return game for Latrell, 30-12. Alex Johnson double. That puts him 2 clear in the try scoring race ahead of Pap, Corey Oates and Taylor May with 16. We spoke about...
It's crazy Pap's still on that list and he's missed like a month and a half.
5 games, 6 games, something like that. It's a bit of a testament to how good a season he was having. We already spoke about Latrell and Origin. He won't be he's ruled himself out. I think in the post-match he said, he just wants to focus on South and himself, and maybe a little bit of a nod as well to the blokes that, have been there and done 2 camps and, not coming in and costing someone a spot. It's pretty big thing for Latrell to do. Also, you have to consider would he have been picked straight away, having played 1 game of...
He did play really well in these games.
He didn't look like he'd missed much. He was running over blokes. He ran for a few metres. I think he had a pretty good game. Now, what's the news with Cookie? He wants a 3-year deal, but they haven't offered one yet.
Yeah, so he's in the Adam Reynolds chat at the moment. It's like he wants some more certainty and a longer term deal, and if Adam Reynolds can't get one, that's the question: is Damien Cook going to be able to get one? So he's asked.
That organisation has lost its fucking head if they don't re-sign him, and the whole Reynolds debacle. Reynolds. I don't know what's going on there. If they're happy to they're like club legends, both both of those blokes. You should. I don't know. Obviously, you've got to consider the salary cap, but there has to be some kind of middle ground with a contract where they'd be happy to shake hands.
I think the key difference is they're worried about Adam Reynolds' health long term, and you've seen with Brisbane, he has definitely missed the occasional match. Smaller bloke getting pounded does turn to miss a few weeks, but Cook has been very good with his longevity. So. If you're going to give anyone a long-term deal, you probably should give potentially the Australian hooker a long-term deal for your club.
Now, this was a strange one. I think I tipped Parramatta, the enigma that is Parramatta. But, obviously.
Were the Rabbits behind or in front of them on the ladder?
They're below. So
Yeah, so that's why they lost.
That's why they lost. Yeah, but now it actually puts South Sydney in striking distance of Parramatta. Trying to work out that team, dead set. It'd be frustrating being an Eels fan, I would imagine. Today's games, the Warriors return to New Zealand. Now, we were slightly concerned pre-match, considering that their kickoff time was the exact same time that a New Zealander in Israel Adesanya was fighting for a world championship. They looked like they were in a tent before the game, but it was so they could run out. I think through
fireworks, do a special walkout.
Yeah, exactly.
Special entrance.
And Mount Smart Stadium was packed. It was a sea of blue and green there for the Warriors returning for their first game in their home country in 2.5 years, something like that. Close, nearly 3. So absolute scenes there. There would have been so many, extended family members and mates and things that haven't been able to go and watch their sons or brothers or friends play footy. So it would have been a big momentous occasion for them, and they got the job done convincingly with a 22-2 win over the Tigers. We didn't watch much of this because we were watching the UFC, but looked like the Warriors were doing it pretty easily. And look, we talk about the woeful Titans. Geez, I think the Tigers can probably go into that category as well of woeful sides. Have you got any meter eaters or top performers there?
Give us try scorers.
Try scorers, yeah. So we had Harris, Tavita, and Arthurs all scored. Johnson was pretty good kicking.
And a couple penalty goals.
For
What about
Johnson as well?
So they were 14-0 up, and then Dewey kicks a penalty goal. It must have been right on halftime.
Yeah, it was. 40th minute.
It makes it good.
Still though, I don't know, if you're down 14-0, maybe it's a good thing they did, because they probably would have been shut out.
Points.
Yeah, talking about being tough teams to support, the Tigers definitely been up there over the last few years. Good signs for the Warriors. Getting the win there, and hopefully for them being back home every second week might
get some home field advantage.
Might improve their performances.
So Dragons Raiders we talked about is still ongoing. 12-10 currently with 19 minutes to go. Big news for the Dolphins. They signed Sean O'Sullivan during the week to be their 7. So they have a halfback.
Sean O'Sullivan of played 3 very good games at the start of the year fame, and then can't get a run. Obviously, pretty hard to break into that Penrith Panthers side, considering both halves are New South Wales and possibly Australia.
Yes, it's a bit hard when Nathan Cleary is in front of you. So
indeed, I like it. I think it's a good signing. I was very impressed by the way that he played in those first 3 weeks. Obviously not proven. Long term, and again, it's going to be the old, well, is it the player or is it the system kind of argument. You do see guys when they leave, like the Melbourne Storm, often
well, you'd think
struggle a little
Wayne
bit.
and still Wolves shit. You think Wayne would be able to get it out of them? Still get a
indeed. Yeah. Have you got Sean O'Sullivan there? Oh, you got Sean O'Sullivan, snooker player.
I'm not sure. He's only played 3 games, like I said. I'm not sure what his Wikipedia is going to look like.
That he played elsewhere.
He's played, he played one game for. Yeah, he played one game for the Roosters back in 2018. Yeah, scored a try there.
And a few for the Warriors.
Few for the Warriors, few for the Broncos. Played 8 games for the Broncos.
Yeah. Yep. In that year, they played 7 different halfbacks. So he's been around. He kind of found his feet, with a good club with Penrith, and played really well in Nathan's stead. So yes, he's definitely getting a chance here with the Dolphins to be a long-term starter.
How old?
23.
So young,
young,
a lot of potential. I like it.
So I think
if they get Munster and him, that's formidable.
Yeah. I think that's probably.
I suppose Munster with any 7's probably formidable.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only spot they kind of got left now is 6 and 1. Yep. They could probably always do with. I think they've got a fullback, but they could always do with a big name. Like Walsh. Walsh, I think, is probably the only target left now with everyone else signed. Or a hooker, but they've got that's terrible. They've got a
Raiders there, isn't it? Drop ball.
They've got a hooker, so they've got those to spot. I think 6 is the only thing they really don't have someone well known to play in that position. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that club goes. But they've got a halfback. They've got a 7.
I wonder how the cash kitty must still be. They must still have a bit of cash to spend.
I think so.
Surely they make a big play at Munster.
No little tidbit. O'Sullivan is brother-in-law with Matt Lodge. Connection back to the chat just before.
Okay, I'm with that.
Is that enough NRL?
Yeah.
Matt Lodge to the Dolphins next year.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah. I think they got enough forwards as it is.
Depends on the brown paper bags from Roosters.
The only other thing that I saw that I thought might be pertinent was Brian To'o is going to play for Samoa in the World Cup. So a weird one in that Samoa is still tier 2, but Tonga's tier 1. Can you just double check that's the case?
Still don't know what happens to Stags, but anyway, we'll have to figure that out when.
I don't think it's hard. It's hard. When we were looking at Mulatalu last year and going through all the eligibility kind of things.
Yeah, maybe those internationals were friendlies and they don't actually count.
I don't know how that works.
It's a drop fest at the moment.
Yeah, it's hard viewing.
Yep.
This Raiders Dragons game.
So let's move into the AFL. I think is probably worth doing then.
Yeah, Marks, there's a bit of reading for you this week.
Yeah. Per the, I don't know if you call this, it's just the rules. The tier 1 nations are Australia, England, and New Zealand. Tier 2 nations.
But Tonga is a tier 1 nation, I'm pretty sure. What's the date on that?
There is no date.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Tonga is now tier 1.
Anyway, AFL. Let's just move on. Let's move on. We talked enough rugby league today.
Let's talk some Aussie rules footy. Any better?
Yeah, still needs work.
The Lions, they bounced back Thursday night after getting dished by the Demons last week to win by 41 points against the Western Bulldogs. Big news for them with Lachie Neale re-signing. Sean, did you catch much of this game?
No, I didn't. And a question I have for you was, did Bailey Smith play in this game?
No, I don't believe so. I don't think he was back. I was watching the rugby league. I was really keen to watch a bit of this, but the Melbourne Manly game was a little bit too enticing for me. So that's where my television set was tuned into mostly. I don't think Smith played. I'm just double checking here.
Because that'll break my theory of... they have a bit of a clearer back line, midfield, sorry. But
no, Smith.
I think the main thing was after the dicking that the Lions got at the hands of the D's last week, they wanted to reassert and show themselves as the top 2, top 3 side that they want to be. And the Bulldogs playing in that middle of the pack currently in that 6 to 8 range, they needed to show that they were as competitive as theirs, and they had a really good game. It was Barry's 100th. He
your boy
kicked 2 sausage rolls as well, so he did quite well. But the big news, like you said, Lachie Neale has spurred going back to Fremantle.
There's lots of rumours that he was going to go back west.
Yeah, of course, with the new family and worried about their support systems. By all accounts, it sounds like the Lions put everything in place that he needed to make them comfortable to stay there. To the point, he's resigned to 2026, which is a long deal. I thought that was a long deal until I saw the Oliver deal this week,
which we'll get to in just a second.
But it's good. It's good for the Lions. I'll still say they probably need that X. That one thing that's going to set them aside from the other clubs to put them over the top.
And they need to be able to win in Melbourne against big teams.
Yeah,
that's been the Mickey on them for years now.
Find out how to do that.
Years now. They've got their Gabba Fortress where they rarely lose at, but beating big Melbourne teams in Melbourne is going to be the big thing for them moving forward.
Yeah, which is probably that X they need to find, and whether that's a person that brings that to the club, a veteran leadership of something, or whether they just find a switch and they learn how to turn that on and put that on in these big games.
Well, that's what they'll be counting on because they won't be bringing anyone in now.
Not this season.
This season. And, so, we talk about player windows and the rest of it. They're still quite young, I suppose, as well.
And locking in Lachie Neale long term keeps that window open a little bit longer as well. So
for sure.
Yes, we'll have to see. Saints beat your Blue Baggers during the week.
I watched
a bit of an upset.
I watched this one. It was an upset. It was the old can't kick straight. Problem. I think they kicked 9-8.
Big problem in the AFL if you can't kick straight.
Yeah, I think they kicked 9-18, 10-18. Quick maths. They got all the run of the free kicks as well. I think it was 23-9 or something in the free kicks. They probably should have won this one against St Kilda. They've
dropping games to St Kilda is one of those things.
Saints are a good side.
It's do it like they're in the middle of the pack. You think
They're
you're going to beat
side.
them, but they can definitely show up to play a good game of footy.
And it was the guys that I normally am on here and talking highly of them. I think Charlie Curnow kicked 1 goal 4. Harry Mackay he kicked 2, but that snap that he always goes the left foot snap. There was a few where he's just like just drop punt that. But credit to the Saints. I probably didn't expect them to go out and play as well as they did. Tim Membry kicked 4, we had him in our All-Australian team, but we've got to mention him again. Jack Sinclair, 37 disposals for him. He's playing very, very good footy. And with the Blues losing and the Swans losing, it makes the ladder look very interesting. We'll discuss the ladder.
Well, that's the segue into the Swans.
End of it, another big upset. And in terms of the boys at the table, it goes the other way. In Monks' Bombers getting an upset win against the Sydney Swans, who just 6 weeks ago dished them by 10 goals. It was big for morale, I suppose, in having Darcy Parish back, but he was kept pretty quiet. It wasn't like an Anzac Day where he goes out and gets 45 and just literally puts the team on his shoulders. But they were able to get this upset win. Monks, did you catch any highlights, or you got some performers there for us?
No, not yet. Zach Marrett had 3 goals. Other than that, sort of just shared the goals around. Parish had, I think, 21 disposals. Nick Hyde.
It looks like Swans maybe had some of that kick straight-itis as well in this one.
Yeah.
Did Buddy play?
Yeah, Buddy did play.
He had 2. He had
2
goals
goals
as well.
2 goals,
1. Yeah.
And the Swans 12-14 to Bombers 15-5. So Bombers clinical in front of the Sticks, whereas the Swans were not. Demons beat the Crows.
Speaking of clinical, yes.
Yeah.
Demons are going to do what they do. So.
Although Adelaide not embarrassed by any means. They were in the game until the fourth quarter, and then the Demons just had a bit.
They put it in the second gear and ran over them.
Clayton Oliver, that man that we mentioned before, how's this for a deal? Re-signing until 2030. Yes, you've heard that right. He's going to be there until 2030. See, Monks, if you can pull up any particulars around the deal.
Yeah, that's the Paddy Mahomes or the Jason Tamalolo deal. Like it's the So I'm going to get paid $1 million a year, and I'm going to lock that in for the foreseeable future.
Is that what Paddy Mahomes is getting, $1 million a year?
Well, he's getting 10. Over 10 years. Yeah, he's getting 50 over 10 years. Well, 50 a year every.
Yeah.
Now, what was he? No,
spit it out, bro. You're there.
Isn't he getting 300 over 10 years?
I think he's getting 50 a year for 10 years.
No, that's $500 million. I don't think he's getting $500 million.
I think that's what he's getting.
I don't think. I think it was a little bit less than that.
I think that's what he's getting. But Monks, chase it up.
I thought his average was under 40 for when he signed that, which is great. Like it's.
You want to skull bet, dude?
No. But
come on, back yourself.
Anyway.
You said that so confidently a second ago.
Yeah. Get us the Mahomes deal, Monks, if you wouldn't mind it.
But long so for at market rate, lock it in for a long term. So
it's like locking your interest rate on your house. Yes. At current, that seems like a pretty smart thing to do. For the players, it's an interesting one, isn't it? You guaranteed $1 million a year for 10. Yeah. For 8 more years for Clary.
Yep.
It's interesting, how much will it change in 8 years? Will mid-tier guys be earning $1 million bucks
when's
a year?
AFL's next media
in 2030?
Channel TV deal coming in? Because
that's where the players get their money the TV deals, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where it gets the salary cap gets the bump is from that, which maybe means he'll miss out a little bit, but then also he's a case of injury or whatever else, he's kind of locked himself in. So he's weighed off the potential earnings in, doing a 3-year deal and then reassessing at that point, and maybe his form drops off to where he's now gone, I'm locked in for 8 years and I'm happy. I'm not going anywhere, don't have to move, etc. And I'll just play good footy. and get paid well for it.
And play good footy he did, as per usual. He had 36 disposals. Petrarca, he's been listening to the Esky, bro. It was a few weeks ago we said, he's having a bit down, and, in those games,
some goals.
In those games when they lost 3 on the trot, he had been kept a little bit quiet. He had 33 and 3 goals, if you don't mind. Pretty big effort there. And the Crows, they can hold their head high, but by going to Melbourne and being competitive with them. Hey, Harry Shaz, 100. Nice to have you on board. Love watching you guys. Love, seeing a little bit of chat there. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Appreciate it. Monks, did you find them a home steal? And is Sean going to scull an imaginary beer?
Yeah. Base deal, $450 million over 10 years.
It's under 500.
Yeah,
10 mil
that's a lot
signing
more than
bonus.
30. That's a lot more than 30.
It's under 50.
That's pretty
That's what I said. I said it was under 50. I was right.
No.
Check
You
the
said
tape.
30. Check the tape. Check the tape. You said 30.
I said he's not getting half a $500 million.
$450 million. Oh,
It's under. It's under, bro.
it's just a
It's
lazy
under.
50 million under $500 million.
Hey, 50 million is a lot of money.
If you include this,
I don't really. if someone was offering me 450 or 500, I've never fucking made more than fucking, I don't know. Like, these are zeros that I can't even comprehend.
Yeah, $100.
I can't even comprehend. I'm probably saying, yeah, bro, I'm happy with 450. You know,
Yeah.
give that 50 mil to charity, bro. I don't care.
So it's 45 mil average a year.
Correct.
So yes,
Round up
still
in
under
this country.
under 50.
Round up 50, mate.
All right. Is that what he tells the salary cap guys when he goes into the office? Is that 45? Just round that up to 50 mil.
Round up, thanks, bro. We have to sack a few tier 2 players.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
Gonna have no running backs, but
Running backs.
Poor running backs.
Dying
backs.
position.
Yeah.
They have to do boxing matches. We didn't cover that. Well, I think that's in the notes. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Can't get gigs. Got to do fighting matches. Anyway,
It's the future. And I have said on this podcast before, if anyone wants to, box me for $20 million, get my ass kicked by Logan Paul, I'd consider it.
Yeah. Well, KSI's taking on Alex Wasabi, and he's been training with Logan Paul. That's the only reason to bring it up.
Who the fuck is Alex Wasabi?
It's some Yank YouTuber. So YouTubers fighting again. So there you go.
Wasabi. Who sang that song? Can you chase that one up? That was a classic Wasabi song. Some Australian Idol fucking flog.
Back to AFL. Cats Dick the Roos completely over 100-point lead.
Did you see the odds before this game started? Geelong $1.01.
Yeah, that's about fair.
North Melbourne $21, something like that. Hawkins kicked 6. Jeremy Cameron kicked 4. Mitch Duncan, it was his 250th. He had 30 disposals. North, a team that's so bad, even Tasmania don't want them.
Pretty much.
Yeah, the Tasmanian team, we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, but they do not want North to relocate there. If Tasmania gets granted a team, they want their own franchise.
Yeah, we don't want the dregs, basically.
It's so dire, man. And the stuff with Horn Francis, like, is he going to be able to stay? Are they going to be able to, convince him to stay? There's a lot of chat about him, going back to Adelaide.
You
reckon?
Done. Yeah, I think he'll want out.
I feel like enough money, money fixes everything kind of thing. If he gets a better extension
True,
offer.
but at that age, you want to win more than you want money, I'd say.
Maybe.
But like you're getting good money anyway. But you're like, oh, do I want to get 100 points put on me week in, week out, or do I want to go somewhere where I'm slightly more competitive?
You're just arguing that 45 mil and 50 mil. There's a big difference.
Yeah. I'm saying at age, when you're more of a veteran, that's definitely more important. It's like, well, it depends on where you are in your career and what you're chasing.
I do agree.
Yeah,
I
what
do
you're
agree
chasing.
with you. I'm playing devil's advocate. We're talking about Ronaldo before, where what's the money mean to him at 37? He probably just wants to win more.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas if you're a veteran that has won championships and then you're kind of in the back of you might, depending on your mindset, you might be like, well, I'm going to get the most money I can before I'm retiring because I know that's on the horizon. So,
Sure.
yeah, situations will define that. And, yeah, as a young fella playing in a shit club, you're probably thinking about, well, would rather play closer to home, get paid the same money, and not be a shit. So
Yep.
yeah.
Tough one for North, for the team, for their fans.
Hawkins kicked 6, Cameron got 4. So
Yep.
doing their usual things there.
10 goals between the two towers there. The Pies came out 5-point winners against the Gold Coast Suns, but it did come at a cost. Darcy Moore hyperextended his knee. He would be going for scans today or tomorrow. He was on crutches at the end of the game, so it doesn't look very promising for the former All-Australian fullback. This was a really interesting game in terms of the ladder, because the Suns, we're talking about them. They're still alive. They can play finals footy, but they really have to get some wins against these teams that they're competing against for that last spot.
Yep.
And the Pies, coming off the Jordan De Goey kind of drama, he did
go back quiet.
He did play. He was very quiet. I think we spoke about a few weeks ago what our opinion was around it all.
You probably wanted a quiet game as well. The last thing, I guess you can shut the meter up a bit if you have a big game, but then also just work your way back.
But they'll write whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Work your way back in and stay out of the headlines a bit for a couple of weeks, and then, hopefully it'll all blow over and someone else will have, some photos or say some shit and you've be forgotten about.
Some boys that are going to be in the headlines for the right reasons. The Dacos brothers. Nick Dacos had 37. He is just lighting it up in his rookie year. And older brother Josh kicked 3, and I think he had a fair few himself. He had 19. It'd be so good, brothers, sons of a former legend, lighting it up. In their very young AFL careers. Nick Dacos is going to be an absolute superstar of the league. Getting 37 when you're 19, is unbelievable.
Yep.
Tigers, Eels, that should be Eels.
Eagles.
Tigers, Eagles.
Yeah.
It's not West versus Parramatta.
Yes.
Richmond have run out winners in that one. We haven't had it on. Oh, dear God, as the Dragons are going to give the Canberra Raiders a chance to win this game.
20, yeah.
But we are talking AFL here. The Tigers...
that was at home, and I thought the West Coast were... They did lose by 30 points, but they still scored a fair bit there.
Yeah, they've got their cattle back. They had a win.
They have been better.
They had a win last week. Yeah, they're not the same as North Melbourne, I don't think. But Richmond did get the job done. 3 goals to Jack Riewoldt. And Dan Rioli back in the side. He had 28 and a sausage roll. That's good for him. Tim Kelly, 40 and 2 goals. Pretty unlucky to have that kind of stat line in a losing side. I think Eagles fans can sleep safe at night thinking forward. I don't think they'll be getting any wooden spoons this year.
Yeah. You expecting a Hudson Young try winner?
I hope not. Oh, God. This is...
Chance has actually come on in the last 15 minutes of this game.
Do you want to talk about this for the last minute? Let's see how we go as a commentator.
Yeah.
Do you want it? Or just see if anything happens?
Yeah, we're not... We suck at calling the play-by-play. We do colour. We're very good at colour.
We do colour. I don't know if it's fucking colour. It's pretty black and white. I think a lot of the time when it comes out of our mouth, I can do play-by-play. Papa Lee gets tackled there by Ben Hunt, and he's still fighting. I don't know what I've turned into, Ray Warren.
You don't say like Rabs. You're like a cross between Rabs and Richie. That's probably struggling to breathe. That's what you sound like. Well, Hudson Young.
Oh, no.
Patrick.
Tackle him. Tackle that man. Take him out of bounds.
That's all right.
Oh, God. We've got 17 seconds left here. There's 2 tackles left.
2 tackles. Probably get 2 plays, depending on when this tackle. That's forward.
Forward.
Backwards.
That is a blatant forward pass. There you go. I can commentate with the best of them. That is a blatant.
They're well short on the right
it's
here.
6 again, but it doesn't matter.
Tackle. Is that a penalty?
Is that a penalty?
Oh, no, they're going to get away with it. Wow. They were short on the right there too.
Knock.
There you go.
Someone's going to say who's there, don't they?
Who's there?
So fuck the joke. You meant to say Owen first. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Poor punters club. Jeez, that $42 each. Really going to miss it. Unlucky to the punters, but roll Dragons. Let's go.
Yeah.
Wow. Any other
Got
time in
away
that
with
match,
that one.
I think that's a penalty. He got out of that.
Probably, yeah.
I'm not sure how straight he was or.
Show it.
Like,
that's okay. That's okay.
But he can't go until he touches the
early?
ball. So I reckon he goes early.
I'm going to have a lot of fucking
But,
sooking Raiders here.
It doesn't matter. They probably won't score it ananyway.
All right, Sean's a Broncos supporter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Where's the hedge? I need to simulate into it.
They both lost this week, so you need to get your fucking Finns jersey on.
Yeah.
Sean O'Sullivan.
More, right?
Yeah.
What about Giants Hawks? Where'd they finish up?
So it's fourth quarter. The Giants have a 28-point lead there, and the late game is underway with Port having it's early days, having a 7-point lead there at Fremantle. That's a massive game for Port. Yes. The season's pretty much on the line, I reckon. But this ladder is very interesting now with a few upsets. With the Blues and Swans both losing, it just tightens things up even more. So Melbourne still have outright first with 48 points. And then you've got Geelong and Brisbane on 44. Geelong ahead on percentage only. Fremantle, Carlton, Collingwood all on 40. So that was a opportunity missed by Carlton to go up to 44 points and stick with Geelong and Brisbane. But nonetheless, we've got this really tight 36-point area here now with Sydney losing because they were the only team on 36 points. St Kilda winning, they go to 36, and Richmond's there as well with their win on 36 points. And then you've got the Western Bulldogs in 10th on 32, and then Port Adelaide pending the result of this game.
Well, that's a big game.
Could go to 32, and Fremantle, if they win, they go a game ahead of Carlton and Collingwood, who are chasing them.
Yeah, big game all around. What's your final note there, Jimmy?
It was announced, I think, yesterday that Robbie Williams will be headlining the pre-match entertainment for the grand final.
Hell is gone and heaven's here. There's nothing left for you to fear. Shake your ass, come over here, and I'll scream.
Has he done that before?
I think he has done.
I'm not sure.
Or NRL?
Maybe it was an NRL one.
Yeah, he's definitely done one over here. I can remember it. It's probably a little bit better than Meatloaf, but
poor Meatloaf. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Here's a little bit of non-sport sequitur for you. I don't know if that's the right word. I think Meatloaf, one of his album went back to number one after he passed. Interesting. Yeah.
Probably a top listener on Spotify for that week.
Maybe. And I would do anything for the Dragons to win, and the penalty not to be called back. That's pretty ordinary, but anyway. Robbie Williams, any news on there?
Nah, I haven't really got anything else after.
Yeah, all right, I'll go fuck myself. Let's talk some NBA. Now, we did erroneously say last week that we'd be a little bit quiet in the NBA moving
Where's this we? It was you.
It was me, true. We're a team here. We're a team. All the times you fuck up people's names, I'll write it out with you. And say we.
I'm not the only one. I'm just the most regular.
The most regular, yes.
Yeah. Consistency on the esky here.
Anyways, let's talk the massive week that was in the NBA after I erroneously said that, we wouldn't have too much to talk about. Probably the biggest story, although there's plenty of bombshells, is KD, Kevin Durant, saying he wants out of Brooklyn. He did announce that less than 24 hours after Kyrie re-signed to stay with the Nets. Opted in. Yep.
Well, which I essentially think means his deal is guaranteed. So he's on 45-ish mil. So I'd say he's in that space. But if he gets traded, they're essentially trading his contract. So he's agreed to that. So
it's pretty gross, I reckon. Like, it's hard to stay Team KD, as talented as he is, after the ring chasing and getting him with the Warriors. And it's kind of like we spoke about Brooklyn putting this team together, and we're calling them the Monstars. The villains from Space Jam. For him to go, Harden's gone, and we're obviously haven't lived up to the expectations, and now he wants out.
Well, again, we kind of talked about this earlier. Maybe the Nets sold him on potential of what they're going to be, and it just hasn't been. So
sold him the world.
Yes, and he's ring chasing and potentially go as well. There's rumours of a deal with him and Irving to go
to double deal.
Double deal to go to the
Lakers, perhaps, but also I've seen the Suns and Heat thrown out there.
But to go to Lakers, I think the reverse would be AD is probably going to have to be as a piece that comes back in the other direction.
Could you imagine a team with AD, LeBron, Kyrie, and KD? That's like the dream team, essentially. That's like an Olympic team right there.
But is that what you need to go?
That is not good for the NBA for that to happen.
But it's also that way you need to go up against the Warriors,
That's it. Well, maybe it is good. Maybe it is good for the NBA.
So that's what they're kind of trying to aim towards, and poor Ben Simmons, he might end up being the number one option at the Nets with no support cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Paddy Mills,
Yes.
he got $2 million more by not taking his player options, and then they just re-signed him straight away.
Oh, they did good because I saw he was had a lot of suitors on the open market as a guy that can shoot and fill in. So
they gave him 2
That's
years,
good for him,
14.5 mil, so he'll get $7 a year for the next 2 years. And like we just alluded to, it might be the Australian Nets,
exactly.
with Ben
boomers
Simmons.
there.
Ben Simmons and Paddy Mills may have to be two starters in the Nets if KD and Kyrie were to leave. It's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be an absolute circus, going forward.
We've seen it across the board, and I don't think we had it on our list, but the Bronson deal for
I've got it on the list. Yeah, I got it on the list.
I just can't read. It's all right.
That's all right. You're struggling with the Australian flag before those.
Wait, no, there it is down there. The weird trades. Yes.
Yeah. That's right. We'll get to.
It's right at the bottom, bro. I can barely see it.
I know, man.
The laptop's in the way.
Excuses. I'm hearing a lot of excuses here. The Suns came out and said, maybe they'll be interested, and Brooklyn were like, we're only trading him for Booker.
Exactly.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. So
the Suns can't do that.
No. I think the Heat is maybe the only other logical kind of spot for him to end up. But
what does that mean? Like Jimmy B's going to be in it?
Well, what power do they have? Draft picks only? Like, would you do a 3 draft pick?
Yeah, because for the Heat,
3 first rounders for KD. I don't think that's worth it. That's a pretty big gamble.
Yeah. If you get a Heat, you'd think you'd want to get some pieces for Jimmy B, but then you've seen Jimmy moved around a heap too. So maybe
that'd be a big fucking slap in the face of Jimmy Butler if they traded him after he put him on his shoulders and to get him, to Game 7 of an Eastern Conference
switch
Finals.
It for Durant.
It's going to be a circus moving forward.
Yep. Speaking of the circus, keep going.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook. So he's done his opt in to stay.
Same
stay
thing.
with,
I think
stay
it's
with
like
the Lakers.
47 mil for him.
Yep.
So in the 40 mils. And I think the same kind of thing. Like potentially, if they're all got this trade bait, and we didn't talk about it. We talked about those 4. If Russell's still there as well, like you can't keep all these guys. You got to move them. They've got to be trade pieces.
Exactly. Does Russ for KD and Kyrie and draft picks, could that be on the table?
Yeah. Well, what do you got there, James?
Yeah. So it looks like Nets and Lakers are in talks between Westbrook and Irving. Switch him, and in that trade, the Nets would look for draft picks. No report on what rounds or anything like that.
And KD's not involved in this murmur.
KD's not involved. Joe Harris and the remainder of his contracts. The Nets want to trade him out.
Yeah, right. There's 38 mil on Joe Harris's contract. I didn't think that
over 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's over 2 years, right?
Yeah.
He's on that John Wall contract.
That's it. But the Lakers don't want Harris. They'd rather Curry in the deal. Seth Curry.
Curry. Okay. Which is fair.
Yeah. So you'd probably be looking at
Seth's
Seth, Irving, and some sort of draft pick for Westbrook.
Interesting. But again, this is all just theories.
Theories, yeah.
It's
very
where
early.
the chat is.
Apparently
there's a connection between the Lakers and Nets is what we're getting at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what that deal ends up being, we'll have to wait and see.
Nikola Jokic, he got a Supermax deal, the biggest one in NBA history. Now, we'll talk in pre-show as to how this worked. There must be something to do with they're allowed to pay him more now because the Supermaxes used to be like
260.
No, they were like.
I'm sure last year's were 260.
Were they 260?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I think what we're saying
is like 251 or something.
Yeah, there's probably
$9 million.
I think it's just we've been rounding up so far. So I think it's just the percentages of what the salary cap becomes year on year out and what they get media deal wise, as we've been talking about. That's this year's has bumped up. It's 270 max. So. He's got that and signed it. So
5 years, $270 million.
That's probably fair for a back-to-back MVP.
I think considering some of the dudes that got max deals.
Yeah, considering Ben Simmons got a max deal,
Bradley Beal got one. He's a great player, but he's hasn't played a full season for the last 3 years. So interesting. Yeah, I think it's fair to give it, a reigning two-time MVP a Supermax. I wonder how far 270 mil goes in Serbia. I reckon I can't imagine the houses there cost as much as they do in Denver.
By suburbs.
Jar got a max rookie extension at the Grizz, so that's 5 years, 193 million.
Just back on Supermax, it's 35% of the salary cap.
Yeah, so if the salary cap goes up.
So the cap goes up, so he gets 35%.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yep.
Like we said, percentages cap, we were right on the money.
Yeah.
And then some really weird trades.
Bradley Bill, I think we mentioned that. He got his max as well.
Yep. So the first one, which happened early in the week, was DeJounte Murray from the Spurs. He's going to go to the Hawks. So
three firsts. Yep.
Yeah. So for 3 first-round picks and Danilo Gallinari. So interesting. Lots of people were saying, the Hawks have won this trade to pair DeJounte with Trae Young. It's interesting because both of them are true point guards. So someone's going to have to move to be, more of a shooting guard. I suppose Trae's the better 3-point shooter.
Well, he is the shooter in the team. So yeah.
Yeah, but he's not known as an elite one. What was the meme you were talking about with the assists? And it's
no one would go up for a bucket. They just passing it to each other. Each on 9 assists, trying to get that 10. And just passing it around.
It's a bit of a head scratcher. Let us know what you think about DeJounte Murray to the Hawks. Obviously, a highly talented player and has a massive future for himself in the NBA. Made the All Stars. Team this year. And then another kind of head-scratching one in terms of fit was Rudy Gobert leaving the Jazz to go to the T-Wolves. Obviously, there's a bloke there called Karl Anthony Towns. He just signed a Supermax extension himself. So you've got 2 true centres there at the T-Wolves. Obviously, one of them's going to have to play the 4. You'd imagine that's probably going to be KAT. They also had a Kyle Anderson, who's himself a handy small forward. We're talking a lot about, the big 3 there at the T-Wolves. This year, it's starting to look like a full roster, like a full starting 5, I suppose.
I think what we've seen with Towns being able to shoot the 3 ball, and he does more as he's a very athletic big man, as a big centre.
They're very different centres, aren't they?
Whereas
Gobert's really a glass cleaner, true defensive centre.
So I wonder if that's the play. They want him to play more of a true centre to maybe free up Towns to do more of the stuff, use his talents elsewhere on the court. It'd be interesting to see.
To be like a Nowitzki kind of,
it may work. It may blow up in their face. Well, they've got their season essentially to test it.
It's a strange trade in terms of fit. Obviously, talent-wise, they're 2 of the most talented big men in the NBA, but also just lining up that big as well. We saw the Warriors. They can sometimes run 5 guys there with Draymond being the biggest bloke on the court.
That's the thing. Big man against the board don't matter if you're shooting it from outside the arc.
Exactly right.
It kind of nullifies that, yes.
But it's kind of cool as well. I don't hate it. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I kind of just like the, trying to watch how this is going to play out in terms of interest, because the way that the league's been going has been going small perimeter shooting, or having one dominant big man like a Joel Embiid or a Nikola Jokic.
Yep.
So having 2...
Well, both of those guys have been lacking, though, team-wise, when they get to playoffs with 4 shooters. That's what they need. So
it's super interesting. Is it the right fit? Time will tell. It definitely causes a bit of head scratching.
Yes.
Malcolm Brogdon's a good pickup, I think, for the Celtics. They traded him for Daniel Tice and Aaron Naismith. So he'll go over from the Pacers, add some more firepower to that. And we'll talk about, the Warriors going small. The Celtics don't mind going small. They'll often have no one on the court over 6'8". So that adds another good, small forward / shooting guard over there. Jalen Brunson, we did allude to it. He got a massive deal to go to the Knicks from the Mavs. The Mavs kind of looking like a bit of a rebuild around Luka Doncic. Going to be interesting to see the impact that Brunson will have at the Knicks.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they've definitely, Mavs are definitely taking the approach of, we need new tools with Luka. What we had's not working. Let's try something different. Unsure if the new pieces they're bringing in are going to be what they need to push themselves over the edge to try and compete for a championship there. again, another one of those time will tell. We'll have to see if what they've done will work. On paper at the moment, you're like, maybe there were better options. You know, with all the teams we talked about, probably look to have a big three, and I'm not sure the Mavs really have that outside. You know, they've got their star, their big one in Luka, and whether they've added anything to help him to build to that towards that big three, yeah, I don't know.
Well, Christian Wood, I think, is a pretty handy centre, but that's two.
Yeah, yes.
So we're talking about big three, so I suppose, do they make a play at someone here in free agency?
Yes.
John Wall to the Clippers for a 2-year deal, I believe. Andre Drummond to the Bulls, and Dante DiVincenzo over to the Golden State Warriors. That's probably enough for trade talk. Now,
And signings, yep.
yeah, Miles Bridges, this is a bit of a sticky situation. Domestic violence, some photos emerged of his wife looking a bit battered and bruised, have emerged. It came just after Charlotte offered him a big extension. He had a massive year as well, his best year for the Hornets. I think this one is going to be one that needs to go through the courts and the rest of it. Monks, you got an article there. Anything further to report?
Has he been charged with a felony?
I think, is there a charge? Yeah, there's
charged with felony domestic violence.
Yeah,
So he was released on $130,000.
$130 is not a bad bail.
Not bad.
NBA players wipe their ass with that.
That's it. I'll wipe their ass with 130,000 as well. Court date 20 July.
Okay. So
The reason I mention it is because if it's charges laid by his missus, she could drop them at any point. If she if they kind of rekindle and et cetera, but yeah, felony charge, that's out of their hands.
Not good, man.
Very much that's court system. So
Ray Rice, it's pretty much ended his career. And obviously,
and his account, deservingly so.
pretty bad.
Yes,
pretty bad.
Yes.
So we'll see. How that one goes moving forward. NFL, not too much NFL news.
Following the same tact, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, Cleveland, do they have a quarterback? Because it seems like Deshaun Watson, his ongoing legal issues, it's looking like he might not be able to play this year.
Yeah, well, I think the league is pushing heavily for a 1-year suspension as a minimum, just for bringing the game into disrepute and then what they have. So they had a 3-day. It's a trial, but it's not an official trial. It's like the NFL. They've reviewed all the evidence. They've gone through everything. They've had 3 days to deliberate on it. Decision on his suspension will be made on the 11th of July, supposedly. So in a week and a bit. And all likelihood going to be a year suspension. The attorneys still on the cases hunting Watson have asked for the NFL's documentation. They want to see what they've found because the NFL investigation investigators well known and have big dollars behind them, so they could unearth some laundry. Some chat about Houston and the Texans probably knew what was happening and they were enablers in this as well. Because
very sneaky.
Yeah, well, a lot of this happens was in a team procured apartment, and they kind of organised the locations and stuff like that. Yeah. So they've chat about there's no way they couldn't have known about what was happening.
Yeah, yep.
Kind of thing, and finding masseuses on Tinder is probably not a great sign in the first place. So interesting to see if they get some repercussions, but by all accounts, it looks like Watson's going to get a year. And whether the attorneys find something and go after him more, maybe it's longer than that. And the chat's now turning to, will he ever play for the Browns?
Yeah, okay.
And then, Baker Mayfield sitting on the sideline going, I'm not playing for these guys. I'm going elsewhere.
You guys.
So, mess for Cleveland.
Yeah.
Looking like they'll have to turn to one of their backups who...
Jacoby Brissett, I think they have.
Josh Dodds as well.
Dodds, so...
Not really franchise QB guys. Although Brissett, if you put pieces around him, he won games.
Yeah, he's solid solid at Colts. He's just never been the franchise guy that they wanted, but yes.
Poor Cleveland.
Look to
Poor
Cleveland to
They
stink this year.
Going in the right direction for the last
They do it
few
themselves.
years, and they literally.
Well, they did. They, Baker took them back to the playoffs, and then they're like, we're going to go get a better adult, who's then
Rather
not going to be able to play for a team.
Yeah, poor Baker. You got to feel for him, but he's probably got to the last laugh here.
Yeah,
in the way that this is going to unfold.
He was banged up last. He played with a crook shoulder, his throwing shoulder for the back half of that season, and still was decent for him. But yeah, that's the problem. He's slightly undersized, and he has been injured. So yeah, Watson, arguably he's a top 10 quarterback, talent wise,
top 5.
Yeah, so he's put up numbers. So I can see the reasoning for it, but maybe the off field probably, as all the other clubs had done, would have made some teams blush and hesitate a bit more. But anyway, that's where that story is at. Decision in a couple of weeks. And the only other real big news was Scary Terry gets
Terry
re-signed. And of the big four, I think from that draft class, DK is the only one unsigned currently, with AJ Brown and I can't remember the other one. Actually, maybe Debo's in that list as well.
I think he might be. I'll chase it up for you.
So they're getting paid essentially that wide receiver class. So Scary Terry gets his 4 years,
elite
71.
class.
Yeah, because AJ got 5 and 100, so he slightly gets less than AJ Brown overall, but still, getting pooed.
Yeah, Debo was in that one as well,
and
it's interesting because they're all second rounders, and I think Terry was a third.
Yep.
So the first receiver to go in that draft was Hollywood Brown. Yeah. Uh-huh.
See what he does at the Cards,
and then kill Harry.
He's done absolutely fucking nothing. Classic New England Patriots pick.
Yeah.
They can't pick wide receivers or corners.
Yeah, you got to get a 5'9" white guy from Walmart, don't you?
Yes.
That's the old Bill Belichick meme, isn't it?
Yes, unfortunately. Anyway, it is what it is. So good for Terry. Yeah, I think deservingly he's been
great.
I think he's had 6-7 different quarterbers in his time in Washington.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah,
unlike the other guys, and I've seen some stuff of Debo at training camp refusing to sign memorabilia for the 49ers, which is disappointing for the kids wanting it. But
why is that?
Well, he wants out. He doesn't want to be at the 49ers. He wants to be paid. So
and the thing that they're holding him is like he's half running back, and backs get paid less, which is bullshit, isn't it? Because he's been one of their best offensive weapons.
So it'd be interesting to see what happens there for Debo going forward. Not sure at all.
And that brings us into a massive final round. Ding, ding. So UFC 276 has just completed, or a few hours ago at least. We got together and watched the fights here down under. The Anzac Spirit, John Anik alluded to.
Very strong.
Obviously, both title fights were won by, retained by...
and handily as well. Very strong.
By an Aussie in Alexander Volkanovski and a Kiwi in Israel Adesanya. I think the only thing that changed from last week was Lawler and Barberena getting bumped up to the main card, with Lauren Murphy getting COVID. So she will they'll reschedule her fight with Misha Tate. We'll start from the top, the big fights, and move down. And still middleweight champion of the world, Israel Adesanya. Didn't really look phased by Jared Cannonier, although Cannonier arguably maybe one of the better contenders in terms of pushing Israel.
Yeah, he made this fight more interesting. He was one of the more aggressive guys to try and take it too easy in this one, and he had a couple of moments. Israel overall, like we were saying last week, was just too technical, too good.
How about his takedown defense?
Yeah,
that was a massive thing with Cannonier shooting for the takedown, and Israel would get driven into the fence, and then that was it. He just as strong as he is, and he's built like a brick shit house, and former heavyweight in Cannonier. Izzy doesn't look like he has that strength. He looks like he's lanky, but he's strong. He's fucking strong, and Cannonier just couldn't take him down. Two judges did score at 49-46, so Cannonier must have won the third round.
Well, he did. In our opinion, he definitely won the third round.
Yeah, that's the way we scored it. That's the way we scored it, indeed.
That judge that gave all 5 to Israel, eyes painted on.
doesn't change. It doesn't change anything. But
it was a dominant performance from him.
But it just highlights as well, and we talk about it every time we talk about the UFC, is the discrepancies in the way that judges score it.
And it's actually been big this week. A lot of people talking about the boxing scoring and why we're still using it. We should go to our own system.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be 3 judges. Doesn't have to be Rambo round. What are we scoring against? Something should be looked at. And
something needs to give. Something needs to give.
And every year it happens. Like you get a few terrible decisions, and I think there was a couple in the fight night last week that kind of again puts it in the media's front and it blows up and everyone talks about it. So, but nothing's really changed. And Dana's an old fighting head and came from the initial boxing system when they kind of put it in. Got a background in that, and I still think it's the same sport. Really, they should still be doing. They should be doing their own thing, but it's just what it is. The commissions, of course, that run and put on the events, they use the same judges. So they have judges for boxing. They use the same ones for mixed martial arts. But then, you kind of – that's the question. That's Rogan's famous question to always ask is they know how to judge boxing, but there's so much more facets in a mixed martial arts fight. So do they know what they're watching?
And I just don't understand with the size of the UFC – now and the popularity of it, how do they not get MMA expert judges?
Why don't they have their own judges on the books and do it that way? But obviously in the States, the commissions, it's just is what it is, and they play nice. Yeah. But anyway, either way, in this one, no issues. It didn't
affect anything.
No issues with judges' decisions. They got it all right in Alex Volkanovski's fight.
Yep.
The 50-45 for him, he just tore Max apart, unfortunately for Max. Took another step up, cleaned out that division, showed he is a class above all the others, and then called out the lightweights. He's coming,
taking a step up,
How do you think he will go against an Oliveira or a Gaethje or a Poirier?
Yeah, I think we chatted about, we worried about his size, but then Charles Oliveira was basically the exact same size as Max is. So.
Holloway could fight as a lightweight.
Yeah, and he did come. Well, he came up to try to fight Khabib and then couldn't make the weight because he was 165 or 170-ish back in the day. So we know Alex can carry weight. It's well talked about.
That's right. His rugby career, they do know, I think, now the difference between rugby and rugby league, or at least verbally are able to articulate it. Famously used to play prop for the Wirrallah Gorillas. What a good name. And was... I think they said 214 pounds in the UFC. I think he was heavier than that. I think he has said that he was over 100 kgs. Which is
he looked like it, big lad.
225, 230 in the US talk. So there's definitely no reason why he can't put on an extra 10 pounds and fight.
It's just less a cut for him.
The
question is more reach and length, and does his power translate? Yeah.
I think reach for me isn't an issue. Like, he always fights guys that are taller than him,
exactly.
and he always beats guys that are taller than him. So I think, for mine, the reach isn't too much an issue. You just watch the way that Oliveira and Gaethje and Poirier are able to starch blokes.
Chandler as well.
That's
up for that lightweight division is just full of killers.
And does Volk have that behind his punches? That's my only concern.
I don't know, but in this one, he showed Max is a fast fighter, and he could barely touch him. So
it was his best. It was his best showing.
Easy, elite hand speed, so much quicker.
And we talk about how all the US or Max Holloway fans at least hate Volkanovski because they think that Holloway was robbed at Fight Island in their second fight. That dispels all of those.
No doubt.
There's no doubt. There's no asterisks. There's no question marks around Volkanovski against Holloway now. That was an absolute clinic, a 5-round clinic from the champ. And he's got a great attitude, and he lets people talk the shit and let him boo, and he was talking to the camera on the way out, and he went out and backed it up with his performance.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is he was saying as well, he'll be active. And he is very active. He's fought twice in the last 3 months already. He could... win a belt and be active and retain both of them, which hasn't been done a lot recently. The guys that double up have only really ever defended one, or
it's pretty rare.
So
it's pretty rare.
Yes,
it's awesome. It's so good. As Aussie fans, Windang, Australia. It's Wollongong, Shell Harbour kind of area, Lake Illawarra, not far from where we live. It's awesome to see him performing on the world stage and cleaning out that division, and wishing him all the best going to lightweight. he'll just get the title shot straight away, won't he? Like it'll come down to
The problem is the title is in a messy space
at the moment with Oliveira missing the weight.
There currently isn't a champion, so and so Oliveira fought for. Did he fight recently for the interim coming up?
Yeah, so he missed the weight by half a pound, so that's why he couldn't be the champion. So that's why there's no champion at the moment. He's the number one contender.
Yes. So, but isn't there a fight booked for him coming up?
I think so. Yeah.
And I think that hopefully that's for the official title. It'd make no sense if it wasn't.
Has to be. Yeah.
You'd think so. So that's the most likely one. Charles there. But they had a lot. Those four guys we just mentioned before, all of them.
They're all there.
They're all there. They all wanted to see it.
Yeah.
They all must have heard the whispers, the rumours that Alex is coming. So he's put them all on notice because if he says, like he said, he wants to be active, if we follow the storyline, he beats Oliveira, then he's going to have to fight one of those three, or if not all three, if he wants to clean out that division as well. So a lot of suitors in the lightweight division, unlike there is currently in the featherweight. So yeah,
and I love like Volk's my boy. I love him, but I don't know if he has the power to go up and clean out that division.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to love watching it.
Yeah, I think. He's even at a featherweight. He's not the most powerful. No. He's a strong striker, but
other than Zombie, who he gave an absolute touch up, all the other title defenses went the distance.
Yeah, and I think the best probably comparison from him is Connor, because Connor had great power at that division, then went up to lightweight, and it still translated. But then as you go up, it goes down. But Connor had unreal power for featherweight. That was clear to see. He starched everyone he touched. But
and it's a comparison in that Connor did it, but they're different fighters.
Yes,
that's where the comparison kind of ends. Yeah. In that Connor was able to do it.
I'm talking more from a power standpoint.
Of course,
in this analogy, but and as he went to welterweight, you could see that power basically disappeared because there's just so much of a size difference. It's just different way that it's. How much torque and how much physics and how much mass and power and all force and all that shit you can generate. You can only do so much. So much as humanly possible. And, you're not going to get many guys at featherweight that can have the same, torque and velocity and force that Ngannou does. So it's a different animal.
Bit of physics chat here for you.
Yes.
Force equals mass times acceleration. I remember that one.
Yes. Let's go back to Izzy and talk about his potential contender.
Yeah, just quickly, Oliveira. He doesn't have anything confirmed. He wants Connor, doesn't confirmed.
He wants Connor. So Islam Makhachev is the contender for the belt. But he wants the money fight first. So
that'll be an interesting one to see what happens there. That's not really probably a popular opinion, I think, for that he wants the money fight. Hats off to you. Get your bag, but I think fans of the sport probably want to see Oliveira fight one of those top contenders, or Volkanovski.
If I'm Connor, I'd probably want to go back to the featherweight division.
That's a shout there. If he could drop a little bit more of that weight, that division's been cleaned out.
Well, he did struggle to do to 145, but he did the same. He cleared that division out and bounced. That division's probably a bit softer, but that's the conversation. You work your way back into that title. Then again, he's been there and done that. That's the other thing. And the lightweight division has bigger names in it currently and a bigger competition. So, but anyway.
Well, let's talk about it now because we're talking about Connor. There's murmurs that Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather 2 may occur.
Well, Floyd's already offered him $150 million for it.
Yeah,
so as if Conor does it down.
So what's he going to
$1 billion fight card or something like
that? Yeah. What's Conor going to do? Go back to the UFC and maybe make $1 million to go fight Oliveira or Volk or whoever.
I think he was getting 20 mil for the Cerrone fights, and then for Dustin it was probably in the. It's double digits, but it's not $150 million. His first Floyd fight was by far the most money he'd ever made in a fight.
So much, dude.
But then again, he does have, I think, $1 billion whiskey industry at the moment. So
and that goes back to our chat before. How much does it come down to money For Conor does feel like it comes down to money.
The question is, at the other point, is it legacy now for him? Does he really want to do a title run again? Or is it let's get all the bags I can and bounce?
And he wasn't embarrassed by Floyd Mayweather, though.
No.
He what he
won 8 rounds.
Yeah, he went the distance, didn't he?
No, they stopped it. They stopped it really early as well.
That's right.
He never went down, but the judge kind of jumped in and said,
but it was
this is more of a show.
It was in the 8th round, wasn't it? And it was going to be an 8-round fight.
10.
Oh, it was going to be 10.
10, yeah.
Well, it's funny that my memory's a little bit skewed on that day. Had a few beersies that day. That is for sure.
Okay, back to Israel. Potential contender coming up.
Well, that means we need to talk about Alex Pereira.
Yes. What he did to Sean Strickland.
Ooh, this may be the best striker in the world that we're talking about. He's definitely in the conversation in Alex Pereira. First round KO, unranked at the moment in middleweight. He's kind of been fast-tracked given his kickboxing record. He has beaten Israel Adesanya twice in kickboxing. One went to the decision. One, he actually knocked him out. So he's got that, I suppose, in the mental kind of mind games over Izzy. The question is, we were watching it. Oh, does he get fast tracked straight to a title fight and fight Izzy? And then he kind of alluded to it in his post-match presser in Portuguese. We had to rely on the translator, but Israel Adesanya's name was announced, and then Izzy spoke about him after the fight, saying, kickboxing's different and this and that. And,
I want him next.
I want him next. So, I think Dana probably puts that on.
Yeah, and I think we were talking during the fight or leading into it, like for Alex to get that title over probably the number one contender fight with Vittori and Whittaker coming up, that he would need to put on a show and it's like, hey, get a first round stoppage, make it good. That's the storyline. And it lines up well. They can do a late, November, December fight for that. Get it done this year. And he goes out and gets a first round knockout, an absolute starching. Did it easy against Sean Strickland, unfortunately. And the hillbilly, as you refer to by Israel, poor Sean Strickland.
He never minces his words, does he?
No.
As I did just then. We were kind of looking at other fighters that were kind of fast tracked and
unranked straight into a title.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. Like Conor McGregor, speaking about Conor, he got fast tracked. Cody Garbrandt kind of got a little bit fast tracked. Ronda Rousey is a bit of a caveat. Like she was already the Strikeforce champ. The UFC bought it, and then she had a meteoric rise to fame. But this Alex Pereira, it would be highly revered and go down in UFC folklore if he was to go up. He's currently unranked. Obviously, he just beat the 4th ranked in Sean Strickland. You imagine he goes to 4 now. You'd imagine in the rankings. Yeah, if he goes out there and ends the run of Israel Adesanya, geez, you'd be talking about it for years.
And I think for Alex, either they've planned this really well, or the UFC's just managed to happen perfectly. But the storylines fits nicely where Israel has beaten everyone else in that top 5 to 6 already. He's cleared that out, and then the guy with wins over him is coming in and has done well. Like he's in that conversation. Like yes, he's a legitimate contender. That they can put that on and they can build a nice story around that. So be interesting. We might be in for one of the best kickboxing matches in the UFC's history. I don't think there'll be a takedown attempted in that one.
Well, interesting you mentioned it. There wasn't a takedown on the main card tonight. So a lot of
a few attempts, but
a lot of stand-up strikers on the card there.
DC, have a tear in his eye on commentary. I bet you Khabib back home with the same thing. It's just like
that's it.
It's changed a little bit with the wrestling tack. There isn't really a big wrestler.
Elite wrestlers that are champions
at the moment, because Oliveira is more of a submission specialist.
Usman. Come on.
Yeah, well, he's got that background, but he hasn't had to
use it recently.
Well, I think he's so much as nullified it. Like the guys like Colby and that, they don't want to wrestle because they know there's no point. Let's just stand and bang. So they've gotten to the point. I guess Khabib was a cheat code, and he was so far ahead of everyone else's wrestling. He just relied on it so much. It was just so many steps ahead of the game in that regards. The wrestling that. He just relied on it so much. That was his world, and he's going to dominate you no matter how good you were.
It's definitely going to be very exciting to see which fights get announced moving forward. Let's talk about the other fights on the main card. So Brian Barberena defeats Robbie Lawler in the second round TKO via punches. This was a stand and bang brawl of a fight. Often Robbie Lawler, this is the way that he wins or loses fights.
Barely moved out of the pocket, these two, and they just
exchanged, and both were landing consistently, throwing bombs.
Lawler, I think, we had the better power shots and looked like hit harder. But in the end, it was the volume. The volume weighed him down. And I think the jumping front elbow, which kicked it all off, really got that get that bell rung. And then Brian just followed it up. Robbie couldn't. He had great head movement at the start, but once those sensors were gone, he just couldn't dodge those punches and was just eating them. And then in the end, the ref had to jump in and save him, which is unfortunate for Robbie.
Great fight. 40-year-old
age. Yeah.
What about we're looking at his first fight in the UFC, 2002?
Yeah,
20 years.
20 years.
20 years in the UFC.
I don't think, and we kind of think, I don't think anyone's been in the UFC as
Longevity,
long or still in the UFC as long as he had been.
So, he's 40. No, talk about retirement. It wasn't like the Cowboy fight, which we'll talk about in just a second. The most underwhelming thing that happened in UFC 276 was the no contest between Pedro Munoz and Sugar Sean O'Malley. They kind of went out a little bit cautious in the first round. There was a questionable low kick, a cup kick from Sean O'Malley, and then an eye poke in the second round finishes it. Now, Joe Rogan, he said that he thought Pedro might be reaching for a disqualification. This is pretty unusual for the commentators to even allude to something like that.
Yeah. Especially with the word reaching. Like it's kind of
like he didn't want to fight him kind of thing.
It's strategy. It's like he's gone this route, the strategy. And it's like,
And it was a fight that a lot of people were really looking forward to. Sugar Sean finally getting his ranking at 13, but he hasn't beat a top 10 guy. You know, he lost to Cheeto Vera, and Munoz is ranked 9th overall at the moment. So it was definitely a litmus test for Sugar Sean, and he probably was robbed of the opportunity to prove himself as against a top 10 fighter.
It was a fair eye poke though, like fingers pointing up.
It was. I've seen worse. Yeah, I've seen worse.
Still,
there was
getting poked in the eye
sucks. The Cannonier Izzy fight.
I reckon the one that Cannonier cop was worse. I reckon.
I think the Sean O'Malley one was worse because it was pointing up and it went like up in the eye socket as well.
Yeah,
so
it
looked pretty bad. But either way, no contest, and they'll either have to rebook it, run it back, or do something different.
I like the idea of running it back. Running it back, because now people are going to talk shit. People will talk shit about Pedro now, who's getting booed in the stands. You know, memes are plenty already. So I think running it back wouldn't be the worst option.
I think Rob Font and Yaria Rodriguez ran it back after a no poke in theirs as well, which ended up being a no contest, and they fought like 2 months later.
Yep.
So it's not unheard of. Finish up the undercard?
Yeah, undercard. So a few notable moments. Monks shouted Cowboy a beer, so we won't go too much into his career achievements. But Jim Miller, he had the second round guillotine, and he goes to outright.
What a career for him as well.
Outright most wins in the UFC, 24. He was equal with Cowboy and Andrei Arlovsky. So Cowboy retires. Arlovsky could keep going. He's still fighting and winning and is a freak. And then
Arlovsky's probably. I wonder when he started in the UFC.
Yeah, it'd be a long time. It'd be a long.
He might pip Robbie Lawler there.
A long time. Jim Miller. Yeah, if you haven't heard the chat that he had with Rogan regarding. His career and battling Lyme disease. He got bit by a tick, I think, back in 2013, 14, something like that. And he was crook for years. And he kept fighting. He kept fighting despite, having chronic fatigue and
his job,
and joint pains and the rest of it. And he went 1-4, I think, in that kind of stretch. And then once he got over the Lyme disease, which is it's a bacteria that cruises around in your blood and fucks you up. Once he got better from that, his record improved dramatically. So interesting to see him at 38 years of age, still performing. I think he's on a 3-win streak now as well. Yep.
The goal for him is UFC 300.
Yeah, so he was at 100, he was at 200. Can he get to 300? Geez, the way he's fighting, you wouldn't put it past him. We were looking at that. The current formula seems to be a UFC pay-per-view about once a month.
Yep.
So we're at 276. So he needs exactly kind of 2 years more in the octagon, which gets him to 40.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see if he keeps going and you know, what kind of fights they get for him.
On the other side, Donald Cerrone retired.
Yeah.
So long term, like he doesn't have the passion for it anymore, he said, and has a long losing streak, unfortunately. I think films. He's
he'll be
avid wakeboarder, loves being on the ranch. So I think more downtime for him, and see if he can do some action work, I'd say, in a couple of movies.
Him and Riot River and Danger, whatever their name is. Some good names for the young fellas. Another interesting one.
Sorry, just real quickly back on that. Andrei Arlovski had his first fight in the UFC, 17th November 2000.
So what UFC is that?
UFC 28.
So
he's had 22 years in there.
Lawler's
had 20.
Yeah, he did have a stint out of the UFC.
Same as Robbie did.
Yeah, Robbie had 9 years out of the UFC.
Yeah, so he got back into UFC around about, I think, 2014. He was in UFC 174.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's freakish. How people do that at 44. I'm 32, I feel old. The other sort of memorable moment from the undercard was Jalen Turner. Get that man a ranking. That was the call. He smoked poor Brad Riddell fighting out of City kickboxing. Kitty six boxing.
Kicking cats is probably a bad thing. Right?
Yeah, Kurt Zuma says hi. First minute guillotine. He looks freakish. He's 6'3". So very tall for the division. The tarantula, they call him. Keep an eye on him, Jalen Turner.
Some quick fighting news to finish up. Potential fights on the horizon. Dana says John Jones is ready. So that's good. He's been transitioning to heavyweight. So he's supposedly ready. And
does he get the title shot straight away, or is Francis going to go and take this Tyson Fury fight?
Hard to say. So Dana said the target is Francis or Stipe. So maybe that alludes to the fact which one is available. And I think it's more Francis's knee because he had that knee injury from his last defense. So depending on that timetable, Dana, of course, probably not thinking about the Fury fight. But then Fury, roughly over the same time that Dana made these comments, was saying, hey, if you want a real fight, come fight me, etc. Francis had been in the ring post Fury's last bout, I believe, as well. So, angling for that with the chat of, we mentioned before, McGregor, Mayweather too. There's some of these guys that have, cemented themselves or chasing some money, looking for some names in the UFC to do the crossover big money fights. So, we'll have to see what that looks like. Speaking of Furies, and you mentioned it, Tom Fury, they've rebooked that fight for Jake Paul. That's in October, I think.
Tommy had COVID. Was that why the last one got
injury,
canned?
something. He was unwell, and they pulled it. Then Jake has gone on to, I think, get Woodley twice in that time frame. So more of a legit
definite legit
contender here for Jake. So we'll see what that looks like. And as I mentioned earlier, the running backs, Adrian Peterson taking on Le'Veon Bell in a fight that's actually at the end of the month, I think the 30th, so only 4 weeks away.
Can't imagine Le'Veon Bell will have too much support after fucking a lot of people's fantasy teams and Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think Steelers fans will be rooting for Le'Veon in that one.
Maybe not.
But both are still chasing contracts, so that's probably why it's only a 4 week turnaround. Is they'll be in shape, they're ready for training camp essentially. But can't get a vet deal at the moment to play as running back in the NFL. So they're going to do a promotional boxing match, and I think there's a bunch of other people in that card, but that was the one that got announced during the week. That was of interest, and that's the boxing fighting world.
F1, they go to Silverstone, the British Grand Prix tonight. By all accounts, the rainy little island that is England has been just that.
Queen and country is on the TV.
Very wet.
Yeah, very wet. You boys are the F1 boys. Who's got the pole and
double check
who are you liking?
Checked it. There's been a lot of other news during the week.
Has been. Carlos Sainz got pole.
Yep.
Ooh, interesting.
Maiden pole for him, so congratulations to him as well. Behind him, we've got Max Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, and then Hamilton, Norris, Alonso, Russell, Guan Yu, and Latifi, top 10 there.
Yeah, good for Lando to get in the 6th. Unfortunately, where is Ricardo? 14th.
Yeah, Ricardo was well down.
Actually, that's a good turnaround for Latifi in 10th there, because there had been the rumours for Oscar taking his spot.
yeah.
He's only growing, unfortunately. Looking likely that Oscar might be loaned out to race for Williams next season in that seat, because they're in full chat about who's going to be where at the moment, getting into the mid-season of who's got what seats for next season.
That is Oscar Piastri for our more casual listeners, who's in the F2 at the moment.
No, he's not racing. He's
not racing.
He's the Alpine
reserved
driver. So the chat would be if Fernando retired, he'd get that seat, but Alonso's not going anywhere anytime soon by all accounts. So that seat probably not available, hence the maybe loaning out to Williams for next season and the canning of Latifi. All the chat is that Oscar will be a future world champion. So they say that about lots of guys, but he's got the talent, is what they're saying. He's come through so quickly that they don't have a seat available for him. But we will see.
Yeah.
Big race in Silverstone, of course. Big race for the Brits. Lewis in the news all week with the comments made by a certain former world champion. A lot of support, of course, for Lewis, and it's probably not something we need to cover too much.
Which world champion?
What's his last name?
PK.
There you go.
Yep.
And it was in Portuguese?
He was in Portuguese.
Some allegations of racism. I don't think we need to discuss it, considering we don't talk. We don't speak Portuguese. Yes, exactly.
But support Lewis in all his endeavours. He's been big for F1. He's been big for his culture and his community as well. Of trying to beat that stigma in F1, which has predominantly been of one colour for a very, very long time, and still is realistically. Helping break down those barriers. All the credit to him and all the support that F1's given him is well deserved. And the final point we had there was the team principals have been fighting again.
When are they not fighting?
Exactly, yeah. Mercedes, Red Bull, of course, at their throats again over the whole porpoising thing. A lot of stuff said in the media. Main thing to say, watch out for Drive to Survive for this season. It will be interesting with Horner and Toto going toe-to-toe yet again. But that's F1. Silverstone tonight, big race. Big title implications, of course. Can Mercedes get back in the picture? Can Ferrari keep with Red Bull? That's where we're at.
Yeah. And we'll just quickly talk Wimbledon. They've had a few rain delays, but the brackets are starting to take shape. Djokovic, the number one seed, he's through the fourth round. He did drop a set in his first match, but outside of that has looked very, very good. And the big thing for the Aussies is there's 3 Aussies left in the fourth round. So De Minaur goes up against the Chilean Garin. I think that one's tonight. And then a big talking point in the Nick Kyrgios Stefanos Tsitsipas game from last night. I've never seen Nick living rent-free in someone else's head so much as he did for the number 4 seed, Stefanos Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas won the first set, and then Nick started getting on top. He was doing the underarm serves, and Tsitsipas was blowing up to the umpire saying, we're here to play. I'm here to play tennis, and he's not playing tennis. And belted a ball into the crowd, which nearly, hit an old lady.
Hit an old dude, I think.
Of Djokovic fame from last year when he smoked that one that hit the ball boy. And then Nick was, kind of arguing the point, and fair enough, I think, because he often gets fined or gets defaulted, loses a point for that. So yeah, interesting. It was a match of tennis where Nick Kyrgios kind of didn't look like the brat in the way that I saw the highlights.
Well behaved.
Yeah, I wouldn't say well behaved. I wouldn't say well.
He was pushing the buttons.
Better behaved, maybe.
But he, like we said, he obviously hit the right button and then was like, "Oh, I've got this here, and I'll keep doing it, and I'll keep pushing that go forward." So that happened. Otherwise, 3 other Aussies?
Yeah, so De Minaur's there, and this fella, Jason Kubler, is there in the fourth round. Don't know too much about him, but the Aussies looking okay there. The problem is if De Minaur and Kyrgios both win, they have to play each other in the quarters. Yeah.
Who does Kubler have to play as well if he wins?
He gets Nadal. Most likely, unless Nadal loses.
Yeah.
Tough road ahead.
So,
Indeed. The girls, it's a little bit
Very
unusual.
open.
Unusual, very open. Swiatek and Kontaveit, the number 1 and number 2 seeds, they're both done. Serena Williams got touched up. Obviously, no Ash Barty, following her retirement. I think Ada Tomljanovic is still in action for the Aussies. And then a lot of names that probably, tennis casuals aren't that familiar with, still going there in the girls. But yeah, definitely going to be an interesting couple of days, especially for Australian tennis fans moving forward. Having three Aussies there in the 4th round. Those 4th round games will start tonight, and we'll know the quarters in the next few days.
Yes.
Definitely.
That's sport.
That is sport.
That's it.
My wife's calling me. It's dinner time. need to get out of here.
Back to where I was saying before.
Exactly back to that. No, it's no Instagram DM. It's just straight on the horn.
Yeah.
I did say I'd be home in 1 minute. So let's see how that goes. Righto.
All good.
Thank you to any of those that have joined us today and your continued support. We do appreciate it. We should have an episode for you next week, unless there's
Let's see how we go.
unless I have a son or daughter. And then when that does happen, we'll probably have a week or 2 off. Thank you. Hope you're having a good week. Appreciate the support, et cetera, et cetera. Enjoy your week of sport.
Will do.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.